Yeah, hello. Welcome to KDRTV Live, coming from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I want to begin by welcoming our viewers in the state of Minnesota and also from across the country. And also welcome our friends who are watching from elsewhere around the world, those ones watching from Europe and those ones watching from Africa. Welcome. It's good to have you on the show today. So it is 10:19 a.m. Central Time here in the U.S., 11:19 Eastern Time, and obviously 6:19 East African time. So today we're going to have interesting discussions with members of our community who are very knowledgeable in different subject matters. We'll be crisscrossing the country. We'll start off today from Indianapolis, and we'll be having the founder of Ndaani, a very large organization of Kenyans here in the US and elsewhere around the world. Dorothy, the beautiful, the incredible Dorothy Ogega, who is standing by. Followed by her, we will have a panel of lawyers who are also standing by to discuss about immigration laws and what it really means for you as an immigrant in this country. And then later, we'll move to California, where we'll be having Dr. Daphne Kaniaru, who will be talking to us about living a healthy life during COVID-19. But for now, we're going to go to Indiana and then start a conversation today with founder of Ndaani, Dorothy Ogega. Dorothy, do you mind introducing yourself quickly to our viewers first?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Dorothy Ogega. I live in Greenwood, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. And I'm a mother of 3 sons. I've lived in Indiana for about 24 years. And we are raising 3 sons, as I said before. Also, I'm a founder of Ndani 254, which is an organization for diaspora people. And I'll get to talk to you about it further. Also, I'm a founder of 254 QCC. For those who like watching comedy, you can also log in on 254 QCC and watch our videos there.
Okay, very good. Dorothy, before I go far, allow me a compliment. I really like the hairstyle.
Oh, thank you.
It's very lovely.
It's African. Yeah?
Yes, if I knew where that is around here, probably I would check my missus to make sure that she has that today. But it looks gorgeous. Let's start the conversation, Dorothy. Obviously, we as a diasporans here are having conversations around major issues that are affecting us as a people. But before we even get to specifics of who we are, we really need to recognize what's happening around the world. COVID-19. This has obviously affected who we are as a people, and it's completely transformed the way we do things and probably transform the way we're going to do things in the future. From your end, how are you experiencing this and how are you dealing with it to you as a person, your family, and your workplace?
COVID-19 is an unseen enemy, so it's very, very tricky to deal with it. It has not affected me personally. Is there an echo? Can you hear me? Is there an echo?
No. You're good.
Sorry. Okay, it has not affected me personally, but I'm exposed to it every day because I am a nurse by profession. Right now, my son the other day got sent home from school because his classmate was confirmed positive. So he's home quarantining, and so that's the closest it has gotten to us, and of course through my patients, but personally it has not affected me in a direct way.
So it's good to hear that, and I hope, allow me calling my nephew. I hope he's well. Young people are always very active right on, so you better make sure that he is still quarantined in the house. Otherwise, he could be running somewhere. So, but we wish you well. And again, as a nurse, on behalf of KDRTV, I want to extend our appreciation to our brothers and sisters who are nurses at the front run. So we want them to know that we're thinking about them and we're wishing them nothing but the very best as we go through this together. So let's move now and then start having a conversation about Ndani 2054. It's interesting. The name itself, I mean, probably Ndani is, people will understand it differently. I'm a Swahili major guy, so if you could please, could you, for the sake of our viewers, tell us what is Ndani? What's the mission and vision, so that at least people get to understand what is it that we're talking about here today?
Ndani, it's Ndani 254. Ndani 254 is a broad organization, but for now we've only actualized the benevolence fund system for the diaspora people. Ndani is works based on numbers. The reason why we came up with Ndani is because of how many diasporans we have out here, and how will I put it? The more people we have, the less we can put together to help someone with a problem. Let me give an example. Let's assume we're in Minnesota. You guys are like about 20,000 Kenyans. That's just an assumption I'm making. Instead of being called in a WhatsApp group or a fundraiser all the time, if you're a member of Ndani, and we have all those 20,000 people registered in Ndani, everybody can give $1 and have 20,000 to give a member who has a problem at that time. So that's the concept that we're using in Ndani. So far, we have 11,800 members, but the actual registered members are about 500 right now.
That's good to know. So clearly understand what that is, and I think you and I have had these private conversations about the power of numbers. And for our viewers, you see what it is. We quite frankly have a huge number of immigrants here, more specifically from 254. And 254, by the way, is the international code for Kenya, correct?
Yes, that's a national code for Kenya.
So friends of Kenya who are watching, they might wonder what that is. It simply means international code for Kenya, and we'll talk about that as well. So talk to me. You're talking about Ndani focuses on benevolent, but it's much more than that. So talk to us how we're going to make the best use of our numbers to make sure that we move a very positive diaspora narrative beyond the benevolent fact that you're talking about. And I will also give an example, and I think you can share with our viewers. One of the nurses, I think, had a problem not too long ago, and thanks to you and our brothers and sisters were able to come in, and you contributed a lot of money within a very short time. Talk to us about that concept of really using the power of numbers to our advantage.
The concept of power of numbers is it's actually one big advantage we have as Kenyans here in the USA, and we all need to do that, because right now we are really struggling. As I said earlier, paying fundraisers. When you're invited for a fundraiser, if you're put in a WhatsApp group, you want to at least give $50 or more. And can you imagine if you're called for different fundraisers? Let's say you have 5 fundraisers in a week. That means you've spent about $250 in a week, which is a strain. So numbers here, Kenyans, all I can tell you is we are strong together. And as Ndani, as much as we have not actualized the other aspects of the group, we are looking forward in the future to even have an investment program where we can actually use the power of numbers again to have some form of investment and help ourselves. That's one thing. We have not started doing that, but we're still finishing up with the benevolence fund part of it. And again, we had a lady who was in trouble, as you just mentioned, one of our Kenyans who got in trouble because it's something that could have happened to anybody. The numbers, yes, people were giving a lot of money to make sure we got to the number that we got to. But if we look at the number of Kenyans that are here, if we are all to get together and put our heads together, these would be a very easy ordeal to actualize. Like we would probably spend $1 to $5 each to help somebody in a problem like what we had with our sister in Texas.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, I honestly have a personal opinion about the WhatsApp groups, and I don't want to be sound controversial. And I think your idea to me, is a fantastic idea, because I have seen in the last 2-3 years really made this culture of using WhatsApp numbers. Yes, it sounds good when you have a list of 200 people who have contributed either $50, $100, whatever that is. But again, interpretation of that is not good, and I shared the same experience in a conversation here. So a friend of mine had lost a relative, and then somebody forwarded that link to people in the villages. So by the time he went back to Kenya for the funeral, people assumed that he had made about 1.7 million, and people really wanted to kill him literally, because they thought he had made money out of a loved one, and I think that's an issue that we might want to address going forward. So we're talking about challenges that immigrants face, obviously not just Penofran. There are many other challenges that we do face. So based on your assessment, you as the founder and your team, tell us about what are 3 specific issues that you think, quite frankly, the immigrants, particularly Kenyan community, faces here in the U.S. that Ndani can help us resolve.
We've addressed one issue is a legal issue like we had before. Of course, we've addressed benevolence. We've also we also have immigration. I'll put it on legal issues too, and I think Opande will address that more later. I'm trying to see. We are in investments. In investments, actually, it's very, very hard. Let's assume I want to build a big project back home. It would be easier when we get together as a group of people to make that project work out and not strain my family. So if we have like 100 families get together and work on a project, it will be easier than one family. The strain will be kidogo.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's good. So and then tell me about, okay, I don't know if you watched the presidential elections, Mwanyegatinga elections here in Minnesota last time, did you?
Yes, I stole some time to watch a little bit. Yeah.
So what was your
I'm sorry,
takeaway
I'm
from that?
laughing. Sorry, I'm laughing
No,
about it.
it's okay. What was your takeaway from the elections, and what does that really mean going forward for us?
First of all, I'm very excited that a woman was selected. That means our community is becoming very progressive, and they're allowing women in such a capacity. So I'm sure Hulda will do a good job to run Mwanyagetinge. And I have this saying, I'm a firm believer that a man is the head of a home. But again, when you look back to how we grew up, the mother ran the home. The father is ahead, he's there running, but chances are half the time the father doesn't even know where the cup is kept in case he needs to help himself. So the mother runs a home, and the only positive, or rather the only encouragement I'll give people here is we have a mother running the organization. Let us see where it goes this time. And I think this is the beginning of good things.
Well, okay, thank you, Doroh. So that says a lot. And I think in the last 1 month, that really there's been very interesting conversation. And I want to encourage our viewers, if you, I think because the two of us are in the conversation, but I want to encourage our viewers, you can make comments so that we keep reading your messages, so that we we can engage in a constructive conversation around some of these issues. And then later, towards the end of it, we'll have questions for you, Dorothy, from our viewers. So if you don't mind answering one or two questions at the end of it. So tell me about this. There's been interesting conversation about the role of men and women, and it's been very controversial for quite some time. Some, thought maybe the African men, especially Kenyan men, are not that tolerant or sensitive to women issues. But clearly, we here in Minnesota made it clear that we can be led by a woman, and that's what it is right now. And then going forward, should it be women against men, men against women, or should we move forward as both men and women? So what role do you see, especially from Ndani, what role do you see men and women playing so that we move forward as a people?
It can never be women against men or men against women. It can never be that, because originally, from our culture, a man is a man no matter what. Let's assume I have the top position in this world. When I come home, I am a wife. And that cannot make me superior to the man in my home, to my husband at that time. So we can never try to put these as women against men or men against women. All I can say is, Abagusi, you have shown progress by even allowing this lady to lead this big organization. And I think it will be an example to our country back home that has issues. Especially the Kisi community back home. We have had issues when a woman runs for any particular seat. She gets, she gets taunted a lot. I don't know if that's a correct word, before she even gets to the position. So you have enlightened the world. Let me put it that way. You have enlightened our country, and hopefully the whole country is watching, especially our community back home.
It's interesting that there are those ones who are watching this, and I don't want to sound controversial, but there are those ones who are watching right now and saying, hearing from an accomplished woman. So some will be saying, they say, I hear this once in a while in our community. They say, hey, this is America. I have a car, I have a vehicle, I have a job. What can a man do for me?
Those ones, they don't go too far. And I know I probably might get stones on this, but I am a mother, as I said, and I was a wife for 21 years. And I think I'm qualified to tell people this, that as a mother, a wife, and a co-parent to my fellow parent, raising our 3 boys together, you can never say that you're independent enough and you don't need anything from a man or from your partner. You can never say that. So for those women who are going around saying you can benefit from a man, or you don't need a father figure in a home, you're wrong. Go think twice, because you were raised in a family where there were 2 parents. 90% chances you are raised in a family where there were 2 parents. When you have a problem, and I'll speak later on, I'll address my own situation. When you are in a situation where you did something happen and you fell apart, still, it is not those children's fault. You have to get together. You have to live above your brain that's telling you that you don't need anybody, or your kids don't need that person, and think about your children and what is important for the kids. And that's what I'm doing in my life, and it's working perfectly. It's working perfectly.
So there is something I've said this before, and for our viewers, I want to talk to this as well. So one, I think they're talking about families and the like. But at the end of the day, what really suffers are children. And when children suffer, that means our community suffers. And then we start wondering why the power of numbers makes really, if it even makes sense. So there's something they call the parental alienation syndrome. Parental alienation syndrome, or it's also called malicious mother syndrome, a situation where mothers, most of the time, almost 70%, and I think the attorneys will come in a moment here. I think Kamweni will be talking about this. I don't know if it's used in the court of law, where mothers most of the time turn their children against their their fathers. What do you say to those mothers, Dorothy?
I'm not sure whether you're being fair there when you just put it on mothers.
It's
Let's
two-way.
say this.
Okay.
It's two-way. A parent
Yes.
turning the kids against the other parents, because I think I've also seen men who can be petty in that direction. But I'll speak for mothers. When you turn your kids against the father, that is not fair at all, at all, at all to that child, because the same way that child loves you is the same way this child loves the other parent. So if I'll give an example. Let's assume Mr. X is the father of my children. We're not together. My children don't care what Mr. X did to me. My children, the much they care for me is the same way they care for Mr. X. So for me going to tell them that Mr. X is a wrong person and shouldn't be in their life, that is very dangerous, because those children will grow, they will find Mr. X, and chances are they are going to go against me, because that's their father. That's their other piece of, I don't know how I'll put it, their other piece of the puzzle. There's a puzzle here that made these children, and you are one of them, and that's their father. So no matter who they are, I wish I could put these in Kisi. In Kisi, it comes out so sweet. No matter who you are or who their father is, whether the father is a drunk man who falls on the streets and gets picked up from there, that's your children's father. You need to respect him. You need to remind your children that that's their father. And that's the only way you will be blessed and live a happy life. I hope
Okay.
I'm
So
making a little sense and I'm not getting
no,
it.
you are spot on. So it's two. I say it's a two to tango. So that is one perspective from the mothers. But at the same time, we can't per se assign the blame on the women. There's also a blame that might be assigned on men. There are also men,
Oh,
quite frankly,
yes. Oh, yes.
who have also literally abandoned their children for whatever reason. That I don't have the specific reason, and I'm not an expert in this area. But what do you say then to fathers who, for some reason, they're not in the same situation, but have decided, I don't want to get in trouble. They're 911s and women think they're independent. Walk out. What do you say to those men as well? Because really it takes two to tango.
Okay. There's some men who maybe get in the situation because maybe the situation at home is not very conducive. Maybe there's the 911 issue that you're talking about. He doesn't get along with the mother and he decides to leave. But in a country like America, you can still maintain your right to have your children. You just can't walk away from your kids and never see them. You can use the authorities to see your children. Let's assume there's animosity between you and the mother. There's that set of men, the men who are in this situation because they've been pushed to. And then there's just another set of men that are just irresponsible men who just go out there and make babies and not even care to take care of them and walk away of their lives. Those ones, only God can punish them. Only God will get back to them. And it's a sad situation. And if you're one of those men and you're watching here, knowing that you've made children out there and you're not taking responsibility and taking care of them, please step up and take care of your kids, because as I said earlier, I'll use the puzzle part, that you are the other piece of the puzzle to this child's life. You don't want another man to come and raise your child and then you surface later in life because you chose just not to be there. But if it's a situation where the woman is not allowing you to be there, your child will grow up, your child will look for you, but also put an effort to look for your child, because that's part of you. I really don't understand. Yeah.
Very good. You know, you and I have had conversations, and all the time I talk to you, you always talk about your boys, right? And the more you talk about your boys, I always remember my mom, and how my mom every morning could wake up and yell at me. Even now, I'm a very great man, but anytime I talk to her, she always reminds me, sorry for viewers who don't listen, understand, if you see, I know one, you're my child, right? Give us a secret behind you raising those very smart, brilliant boys.
My boys, as you can say, my boys light my world. When I speak about my kids, a smile just comes in my face, even if I was sad. Well, I have a 22-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 17. I was not blessed with a daughter, but hopefully God will bless me other ways. Through them, I'll probably have granddaughters. So I raised my kids. My kids were born in the US, but I've raised my kids like a kissy woman. I raised my kids the way my mother raised me. My mom was tough. She was rough. My mom was a very educated woman. She is a very educated woman. She's still alive. But she raised us the rough, kissy way. And my babies, since they were babies, they knew that I don't play. Right now, they are grown. They are taller than me. They still know that I don't play. They still know that I can jump and slap them if I have to. I don't have to yet, but if I have to, I'll get up there. So one thing I think our community forgets, and okay, hold on. I was still talking about my kids. So yes, I have the 3 boys, and they are wonderful. They are very respectful kids. I'm very proud to say that that's my biggest accomplishment. We are co-parenting. We're raising them together with their father. We put our differences aside, so it's not affecting how we raise our children in any kind of way. I know there's a part of our community that can probably maybe jump into judgment and say, hey, what is she telling us here? And she's divorced. The problems between my partner and myself have nothing to do with these children, and we had to make that decision real quick in order to raise sane boys. And for those who have met my children either virtually or have met them personally, they're American but raised Kenyan and they have embraced our values. I speak to my kids in Kisii. I actually don't know how to speak English to my kids. Ever since they were born, I speak to these kids in Kisii. Even their white friends around them, they understand some Kisii because they've been around them for so long, like their American friends. So that's one thing I would love to see our community embrace, is our culture. Because when these kids, if you compare to the American kids that we have here, they only know English. They only know this one. They're not cultured. So when your kid can speak Swahili, when your kid can, mine don't speak Swahili, I didn't go that far. But when your kids can speak your mother tongue, you can have a conference with your kid in a group of, actually you can have a conference with your children in a congregation, but you have your own little conference and you understand each other. That is pride, because these American kids look at our children and they want to be like them, that they can actually speak another language, and they are cultured. They have a different culture that they relate to. So when it comes to children, I can take all day talking about it, so we can do this another day.
Just for 1 minute or so, I want you bring a very interesting topic. and I'm sure most people are going to really say, "Whoa, what is she talking about?" You are saying, and I don't think I've had somebody on the show who's trying to bring their personal life the way you bring it, very candidly and in a most respectable way. You're talking about co-parenting, especially during coronavirus. Right now, there are couples who can't even stand one another. In fact, they don't want to see the other partner's faces, not even on Facebook, not even anywhere on the social media, which is actually to the detriment of the children. If you don't mind, and I think it's okay if you can pass this on, for a minute, how did you get to that point where you said, you know what, it's gotta be co-parenting? It's I don't understand, and especially when people don't understand. How did you get to that point?
First of all, I'll say something about my Baba Watoto. Baba Watoto is my son's father. We got married very young. I was 20 years old when I got married to him. He was equally young, 22 years old. And we grew up together, technically. We've raised kids, and we're now in our 40s. So something happened in there that we decided to call it quits, but it was a happy marriage for the most part. And in the beginning of our divorce, of course, there's a lot of bitterness, because when two people love each other, you can't say that you can just walk away without having some kind of bitterness. It's a sad situation. It's a very, very tough situation that I cannot wish on anybody. But you have to, when you love your children, you have to sit down and come to a conclusion that it's about the children. And yes, we did go through the bitterness stage, and we are at a stage now where we are actually very close friends. And that has helped a lot. We are raising our together. Coronavirus has not made us want to kill each other. Thank God. That's what I was laughing. I'll be the person who'll say I think coronavirus brought us closer, and it's just working out very well. And I pray for all couples out there who are going through what we have gone through, or even are trying to go through that. Just know it's not the end of the time. It's not the end of the road. You can actually be friends and raise your kids, and in a respectful way.
You know what? Do me a big favor. Just salute Mister, or whatever you call him, husband. But Baba Watoto, I salute him. I think hopefully him or somebody else can come on the show and share such kind of experience, because I don't think a part of that that's unique. And I think for our community, that's what we really need. I think on behalf of KDRTV, I salute him for a man to come down and have another conversation
Today,
for the sake of, huh?
he's not
No,
coming already today. Next time you'll have us together, maybe.
okay, next time. But on behalf of KDRTV, please salute him. Tell him that's the kind of fatherhood and family we need as we move forward. Not to move away,
And
because I
may
know
I
that.
add one point?
Sure, please. Go ahead.
As I said, I'll go back to the point that I'm raising boys. As a mother, my role of raising boys was carrying them in my belly, breastfeeding them, and bringing them to a stage of life, maybe up to 8 years old. After that, the role of the father kicks in. As much as I want to do it, I can never be their father. I can't. I can't. Let it be that the only reason that you're doing this alone is if the father is not living anymore. But other than that, let that man come in and raise these kids, because there are some things, even up to now, as much as I said I'm a tough mother, even up to now, these boys, they try to outsmart you sometimes, till they hear that their father is in then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't need to tell him that. My son was trying to convince me yesterday. He's on quarantine. He's been sent away from school to be home for 14 days. He had a test a few days ago. The test results have not come in. But he wanted to go swimming. And he wanted to make that a discussion, that he can leave the house and go swimming. But as soon as the dad came up like, huh? What are you talking about? The story ended. So there's some things as mothers we can do. And there's some things just let the men do them, because it's not in our place. Yeah. And there's some
That's
things those men can't do at all. They can't nurture kids. Let us do our part. Let the men do their part. Yeah.
Good point. And there are a couple of questions coming for you from the viewers in a moment here. I had an interesting
Mm-hmm.
conversation today, and I was meant to
Mm-hmm.
understand something that I didn't even know. I think somebody told me
Mm-hmm.
some of these even divorces don't happen because people have differences. It's because there is something called
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, I don't know, spiritual husbands and spiritual wives. So some people disappear because of those miraculous stuff, get married to some spiritual husbands and spiritual wives. And apparent, I didn't know. I think I was watching Tuko Kenya, and it's very heavily documented, but unfortunately, it does affect our community. So let's move from that one and talk about a topic here before we get questions from the audience. So tell me how Ndaani is going to partner with non-Kenyan organizations so that we move forward, move our diaspora narrative.
As I said earlier, we haven't really gotten to that part yet, but
Okay.
our goal or our vision is we are able to join, to have other organizations that are not Kenyan join us and help bring development into our country because we're still behind. Our country, we're still behind on a lot of things. Our roads are not put together. Just generally, our infrastructure is not all put together. Our technology, we're still a couple steps behind. So with time, it will be my satisfaction and my my prayer to see that in the future we are able to partner with NGOs or other organizations out of Kenya to bring development to our country. That is what we're looking forward to.
Before you take questions, a few questions from the viewers. What should Kenyans in Kenya, and quite a number of them are watching right now, what should they know about diaspora? Oh, no. Mheshimiwa, you need to log off. Okay. I think we need to bring back Henry logged in quick. Let's bring in. Okay. Dorothy will have to log back in. Okay. Sorry, I think Henry was coming to the other side. Sorry about that. So I was saying the Kenyans. I think Dorothy is muted.
Hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now. Yes. So before you take questions from the audience,
Mm-hmm.
the Kenyans who are watching right now,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think they should understand about Kenyans in the diaspora, especially Kenyans in the US?
The Kenyans, people who are in Kenya that are watching us right now, I want to tell you that the Kenyans in the diaspora, they're not having it good like you are back home. Back home, there's life, except now that Corona has messed everything up. But back home, there's life. Back home, you have time to go and visit your neighbor and just have a good time. Back home, you can get off work at 5 o'clock and go out and enjoy yourself. There's a social life back home. Back home, there's a community that's helping you raise your children. We're in a country where it's very, very fast paced. I'm talking of America. I won't talk for the whole diaspora. It's very, very fast paced. You have to work to to even survive. I mean, to just there's no other way. You have to work. So these diasporans, the little money that they make or the little money that they send you, the $50 that they send you, no, they worked so hard for it. Musi darau, because you're at home. This one now you're going to make me get a little carried away here. There's this mentality back home where people think that we're here making money and it's just coming off trees and we can just solve everybody's problems. When you're calling me to ask me for money to pay for your children's school fees, who is paying for my children's school fees? So when your relatives, especially relatives, let me put, friends are not like that. Relatives are the ones who actually assume that when you're here, you have to help them. And when you help them, the little that you give them is never enough. And when you stop, they turn around and you sasa unakuwa the worst person. You become the enemy. They trash you around town. They start saying, oh, that one, they kazi yao ni kupanguza wazee. You know, I wish I could put this in Kisi the way they say it. And you know, these people work so hard for their money, and the little that they can give you, just know they have their own lives here that they are running. They have to pay bills. They have to pay for the house they are living in. In Kenya, you probably live in your own place, especially if you're in Kisii. In Kenya, you can go to the shamba and pick your mbogas. Here, we don't have that. Very few have that, and it's for a very short season. So just tusidharawiane, let us respect you, and also you give us the same respect so that life is easy. And when there's a problem, we help each other without friction. Right now, there's a friction between the diasporans and between the people who are at home. People who are at home think tuko na maringo and we don't want to help them, but they don't understand what we're going through over here. It is not easy. I don't have time to see my neighbor. I actually don't even know who my neighbors are. I moved to a new neighborhood about a year ago. I don't know my neighbors yet, like I knew where I used to live. So just let us give each other a break and respect each other. Hii story mnatuita summer bunnies and you mix us all into the summer bunny narrative. Not all of us are summer bunnies. Or rather, we shouldn't even be known as summer bunnies. You know, we're just Kenyans. We're coming home. We just want to come there and do whatever little we can do to help in our economy and to help ourselves back home. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
I think, oh, Ben, Dorothy can't hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now. Mm-hmm.
I think Ben is going to post a question here. I don't know how to post this question. Question coming from Dr. Jacqueline Nyaberi. You talked about your husband, co-parent, and then we're talking about the spiritual husband, whatever that is. And then Jacqueline is asking you, what is your comment about what she's calling virtual dads? I don't know what that is, but virtual dads. What's your comment about that?
Who are virtual dads? Can you help me? Did I say virtual dads?
I just received a text message here. Do you have an idea what that is?
I want to assume a virtual dad is a dad who is there but not there, who is not like, I don't know. I don't even think that can work. I can't hear you.
Dr. Jacqueline Nyaberi, please, you can repost that question so that we understand what that means. I didn't know anything about virtual dads. That's the first time I'm hearing about that, but it's something we can Google about. But if you want to do that, you can post that question again so that maybe Dorothy can answer that. So Dorothy, before we finish here, I know you have some other side hustles that you do. Do you mind talking about those as well?
Well, yes.
Okay, I think, is she muted? Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Was your friend Stella? I think that's the question she's asking. But you maybe talk about the things you do aside, and then you can answer one or two questions before we finish.
Okay, I'll make a comment on Stella. So, do you want me to finish what we were talking about? My side hustle.
Yes, and then you can come and talk. Yes.
Yes. As I said, I'm a nurse. I became a nurse out of necessity because I was a real estate agent for 10 years, and then 2008 happened. At that time, I went back to school and became a nurse. Why I chose to be a nurse is because it was the most secure thing to do at that point. But I've grown to love my field and I love it. I love working as a nurse. Other than that, I'm generally a businesswoman. Business has never been shaken out of me. We do run not an organization, a business in Kenya. It's called 254 QCC. For those who are watching, just go on YouTube or Facebook and type 254 QCC. It's Quarantine Comedy Club. It's actually we're probably going. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this here in a kiddish way. We're probably giving Churchill a run for his money. So check us out before we become big. We're still small, growing. We are on TV in Kenya right now, and hopefully we'll be hosted on TV here by KDRTV if they can give us space one day. So far, check us out, like our page, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. So there are those two questions. I think Dr. Jacqueline now just posted that question. If Ben, you don't mind, bring that question again. Honestly, I'm learning this one as well. It sounds to me a virtual dad is somebody who disappears and then shows up years later, or maybe sends a text message. So maybe you want to make sense of that, Dorothy? There's a.
It depends. Okay, now I understand what she means. They could be two virtual dads. Two virtual dads because he chooses to be away, or a virtual dad because you don't want him there. So for the ones who choose to be away, they're missing out big time. And if you're one of those, please get up and be there for your child. I'm telling you this with a straight face. Come get me later. Get up and be there for your child, because your children are your closest relatives. You need to know that. As a parent, your children, those are your closest relatives. Your siblings are not. Your siblings are your siblings, but they have their lives that they are running. Your siblings are not, their lives are not going to stop because you've become kiwete. You've become, you can handle, you're uwezi jiweza. But your children's lives will be affected. They're the ones whose lives will be affected because they have to take care of you. So you have to pick your priorities right. Those are your relatives, and those are your closest relatives. Get up and take care of them, because at some point you're going to need them to take care of you. For the men who are virtual dads because they have been pushed away, the women that are pushing them away, please stop that. Let those men be fathers to their children. That's all I can say. Because it's a very, very fulfilling thing. When I watch my children with their father and the things they are accomplishing, even without me, just sometimes I just sit down and watch their conversations, and I'm like, wow, it makes me have a different kind of love for him. As much as we're not together, just watching, seeing how he's relating to the kids and how he's making their priorities be his number one thing. Yeah.
That's well put. I think this is the question about fathers and marriage. I think in the future, maybe we're going to welcome those ones who are experts in this area to come on the show and have a more detailed discussion, because I think it keeps coming on and on and on. So I think it would be nice if you think you're very good, you're able to advise people. Please, KDRTV welcomes you so that you can come and get this discussion. I think that would be best way to go for it. So if you don't mind responding quickly to Stella's question, Ben, if you can have Stella's question on for Dorothy quickly. Ben, do we have Stella's question before we? Okay, Ben, if you're not there, then do we have that question, Ben? And by the way, for our viewers, just so our viewers know that there it is. Oh.
They will never be appreciative. They think that once he married you, he found a slave. I'm going to nicely say something to our men. I haven't experienced that personally, but I think I've seen those kind of men that Stella is talking about. Please, please, men. You know, if that woman is not there, you probably won't even know where the spoons are being kept. Just love your woman. Appreciate the little that she's bringing on the table, and the more you take care of your woman or you love your woman, the more the more you sow, the more you reap. Does that make sense? That woman will take care of you. I'm telling you, women, we're emotional beings. We're very emotional. We're not like you, men. As a woman, if you treat me or you put me down, my whole system will just shut down, and probably I will not take care of you the way I'm able to. I mean, we are nurturers naturally. We're here to nurture. So if I'm nurturing you, just say thank you. If I'm washing your clothes, just do something that, just something to take care, to make me see that I'm being appreciated. Don't put me down. And I'm sure if you treat your woman right, you will not feel. I know there's a group of men that they feel like, oh, they are women, wamefika another level, they don't care for them, vago koraiga, all that stuff. You won't have to feel that way. I don't know if I hope I didn't touch any nerves, but that's the best way I can explain. I don't know. I'm really, really trying not to sound one-sided here.
It sounds to me like they're now calling you, telling you why did you say that. So that's okay. You can put the phone on mute in the next 2 minutes, and then we should be done here momentarily. So I think you're muted. Don't you think you're muted? Okay, you're finishing that.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay. So what do you say? Here's a final question. What do you say? Do you mind speaking straight to the camera and ask all your followers to support or subscribe to KDRTV? If you don't mind doing that. I think it's, and by the way, thank you so much. I listened to your conversation with Jeff Koinange. I think that was very excellent. You did a great job there. So proud of
Oh,
you. And
thank
if you
you.
that was really, really fantastic. If you meet Jeff, tell him to come right here on KDL TV. We want to have him on the bench right here and ask him very tough questions. I know you're good friends. Let him know that we really need him here very soon. So, and again,
I'll
one of
tell
the
him.
best ways, if we are going to drive a positive diaspora narrative, we obviously need to make sure that we develop KDL TV to be a place where you guys can come on and share. I think this question about marriage and all this stuff, honestly, I welcome anybody who think has a good knowledge on how to guide the conversation. We welcome you to come on and do this. So take a moment and ask your supporters. I think about 30,000 of them to subscribe to us as well. Take a moment.
I will. Before I go there, there's one thing I forgot to say, to tell people.
Please do. Please do.
Healthcare back home is a big problem we have right now. And I partnered with myself and Mr. Vincent Chepkwonyi, who you'll get to know in the future. Probably I'll have you interview him one day. We did partner and come up with an app that's called Teleafia. We launched Teleafia about 3 months ago in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And it's an app. It's only available on Android right now. We're still waiting for iOS clearance. Teleafia is an app where, if let's assume your grandmother or your mother back in the village has it, it's just like an M-Pesa account for them. If somebody has a problem, instead of them getting up and have to go to a hospital, they can actually, on the app, they can find a doctor and ask questions, and the doctor can actually do some consultation there and help out a patient. So we're trying to go virtual too when it comes to healthcare. So it's launched in Kenya. It's picked up pretty well. We also have some teleafia clinics. Just encourage your people back home and the people in Kenya that are watching. Please download teleafia And you can also find us on teleafia.com for more information, or you can contact me directly. I'll explain it to you. Thank you. So, to be hosted here at KDRTV. I'm requesting all of you, my followers out there, please go and follow KDRTV on Facebook, and also go online on YouTube and follow them. I'm not sure if they have Instagram. I'm sure they have Twitter. So follow KDRTV on Facebook and YouTube and all the other channels where I'm sure you just type KDRTV, all their handles will come through. Please follow them so that we can all build each other. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's nicely put. I think that's the best way. Instead of us watching CNN all the time, I think the more we build this, I think for you and all small businesses or organizations within our diaspora community, if they want to market their product, if people, and I think our community have experts and the lawyers are standing by, it's okay. You can come here so that we can have this continuing conversation. So again, go to our Facebook page, like us, and please try to engage us. That's important. We need your constructive feedback. Also go to YouTube and subscribe. I think that's very important. Subscribe so that we can be able to move on to regular programming as well. We also on Twitter, you can follow us there as well. So, Doroh, would you mind making your closing statement to our viewers?
My closing statement, I'll use what you just said about CNN. Hawa America, these Americans, wako na CNN yao, wako na everything theirs, wanajijenga. Let them build themselves. We are so many out here in the diaspora. We are so many here in the US as Kenyans. Let us build ourselves. We are so many that we can actually build our own island if we choose to. We have the resources. Numbers, kidogo kidogo, ujaza kibaba. With the numbers that we have, if everybody comes up and puts a little bit in, we can build our own island that we call ours, that we can leave as a legacy for our children. And let us build Kenyan businesses so that to fike mahali. And I always like giving an example of our Somalians and Indians. Pali wako wamejijenga sana. Sorry, I have to speak Swahili here. Pali wako wamejijenga sana. If you look in Minnesota, where the Somalians are, they are running it. We have some in Columbus. They are running it. They believe in the power of numbers, and they've gotten together and they are running everything. So as Kenyans, let us get together. Let us make something for our children. Let us make a legacy, because our kids are Kenyans. Yes, as much as we want to say they're Kenyans and we are building mansions for them in Kenya, they probably will never live in those. Let us build a legacy for them here where we are. This is home for them, for our children and our grandkids. So asanteni sana. Let us all love each other and build each other. That's the best I can say for now. Thanks.
I think that's very well put. Thank you, Dorothy. I think it's been an absolute honor and privilege having you on the show. Thank you. When we sent the invitation, you're very quick, and I think we've had private conversations. Your thoughts, I take them very seriously. Your advice is valuable. We appreciate. And my hope is that you continue to come on the show, because we really need you to come on, support us, and so that we can continue the conversation around some of these issues that affect us. So thank you so very much for coming on. I know you need to catch some sleep. Go to sleep, and obviously we'll talk later in the day. So thank you so very much again, Dorothy.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And so for our viewers, thank you again. Stand lawyers coming on. They're already sitting on their sets, ready to have a discussion around here in the United States as immigrants. But for now, for Doroh, thank you. You have a nice one. We'll talk later.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Far away from you. Money transfers. We know how stressful it can get to take care of the healthcare needs of your loved ones, especially when they live far away from you. Money transfer services have expensive fees. They cannot ensure that your money is spent on the intended healthcare needs. And there are many questionable pharmacies that sell low quality, unsafe, and even counterfeit medications. That is why we created Diaspora, a secure, quick, and cost-effective way to pay for the medications of your loved ones through our network of accredited and registered pharmacies. So here's how it works. Meet David. He lives far away from home. Unfortunately, his mother was recently diagnosed with diabetes, but she can't afford her new medication. So after funding his Diaspora account, David enrolls his mother as a beneficiary, and a unique PIN code is issued. Think of this as a digital voucher that David paid for in advance. David's mother presents the PIN code at one of our accredited and registered in-network pharmacies. The cost of her medication is deducted from David's account, and his mother can walk in and out of the pharmacy with the medication she needs. It's as easy as that. David can also assign his uncle who lives close to his mother as a caretaker to help her follow the new diabetes treatments. For extra security, David can also create one-time PIN codes and manually confirm and approve medication purchases too. It's easy to send more money home and hope they got spent on buying safe medication. But what if you can have control over how your money is spent, gain access to safe and quality medication, and purchase multiple medications for multiple family members who are in need? Your money goes a lot farther, and healthcare becomes a lot more inclusive. Diaspora was created by Diaspora members for Diaspora members that help provide greater access to safe, quality, and affordable medications for your loved ones back home. It's time for your loved ones to get the quality medication they need, and for you to get the peace of mind you deserve. Sign up today and register your loved ones for free at diasporacare.com.
Oh yes, we should be on now. We're live. So we're live again. Welcome. I think the second segment of our continuing conversation. So we are joined now with three of the best and brightest of Africa legal minds. Tony Ongeri, have your camera to the center so that our viewers can see you well, just like Mweni is. Yeah. Okay, one more time. Yes, 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 good. And then move your camera just kidogo. Ongeri kidogo. Okay. Now do the other way. Okay, good. So thank you guys. It's good to have you on. Welcome to our viewers who are watching this show again from here around Minneapolis and around the country. Welcome. And our international viewers, those watching from around Europe and those watching from Africa, more especially those in Kenya, welcome to KDRTV Live. We're continuing this conversation about driving a positive diaspora narrative. And right now we are privileged to have three very smart legal minds. We are starting off from Texas. We have Tony Labano-Pande, the nice-looking gentleman there who is adjusting his
I'm trying to do my makeup on stage. Forgive me and pardon me for that.
Okay, so I don't know what kind of part of the law we are going to use against him, but the other lawyers will guide us on that. So good to have Attorney Labano-Pande joining us from Texas. We also have a good friend, a sister, Mweni Muli Laburu, joining us from North Carolina. Good to see you, Mweni. You're looking great. And from
good afternoon.
Good morning. It's 11:21 here in Minneapolis. It's good morning, good afternoon, good evening in Kenya. It's interesting. And then from Ground Zero, Wakili Henry Ongeri, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
So guys, welcome. I hope you had a chance to watch the interesting conversation I just had with Dorothy of Ndani, and I hope you enjoyed. If not, that's okay. You can cut that later. So again, as we promised our viewers, let's get into the discussion around issues affecting diaspora immigrants. And our focus is not necessarily Kenyans, but we're really focusing on all immigrants in this country, how this situation of COVID-19 is affecting them. But before we do that, let me go down to Texas. Attorney Opande, do you mind introducing yourself to our viewers, please?
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Okari, for having us here. It's such a great honor. We appreciate it. To be able to share with our community, the Kenyan community, the African community, and really the American community about some issues affecting us. My full names are Labano-Pande. I live in Houston, Texas. I practice in Texas. I have a main office in Houston. I have another office in Dallas, so I kind of go back and forth. I'm a junior practitioner, but my areas of concentration are mostly in civil litigation, personal injury types of cases arising out of motor vehicle accidents, wrongful death, as well as aviation more recently. I also do business law and immigration law to some extent. So it's good to have ourselves here, and it's good to see my fellow colleagues, my senior, Mr. Ongeri, and my good resource, Ms. Raburu, whom I always call every now and then. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Wakili Attorney Opande is joining us right now from Dallas. So good to have you, Laban. So let's go to North Carolina, and there we have our good friend and sister, Ndani. Introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening. My name is Ndani Muli Raburu. Thank you so much for having me and for having us here. I'm absolutely glad to be of service at any point that we can. I live in the Northern Virginia area, and I handle our office in Washington, D.C. area. I am meeting you today from North Carolina, which is our main office. We also have an office in Dallas, Texas, and Boston, Massachusetts. So I am an attorney with one Jahi and Muli law firm, where we primarily practice immigration law. I am licensed in the state of North Carolina. I'm very passionate about family law, so that's a big part of what my practice is in North Carolina, but we mostly practice immigration law countrywide with main focus is in North Carolina. I live in a plane. I am probably pre-COVID in a flight 4 days in a week. So just being able to serve where we can.
Good, thank you. So again, Ndani is joining us from North Carolina. I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting conversation here. So let's get back home here to ground zero, and we have the senior of the two. I think they call the Mzee Wakazi, Mr. Henry Ongeri. Introduce yourself, please, to the viewers.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, my colleagues, Laban and Ndani. My name is Henry Ongeri, and I am glad to host all of you alongside Dr. Okari. So welcome to home. I am the managing partner of the Transatlantic Law Firm. Our office is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes and several thousand good brains. We serve the legal needs of transnational and diaspora clients in the U.S. and across the world. My practice is U.S. immigration, business, transactions. I also represent employees at multinational organizations. I graduated from the University of Nairobi back when many years ago, Kenya School of Law. I also have a Master's of Law in Taxation Law from William Mitchell College of Law. Went to Hamlin for my JD. I'm licensed to practice in Kenya, New York, and Minnesota, and also U.S. Tax Court. I live in the land of 10,000 lakes with my 3 sons and my wife, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this because COVID has really changed our lives and the lives of our clients. And as Sister Ndani said, whatever we are able to do, we will do, because when it comes to it, lawyers are our brothers and our sisters keepers. Thank you, Dr. Okari, for having us on.
So, guys, before we start the conversation, I have to make one confession. Anytime I deal with this, I'm always nervous. So sometimes I have to check around if I've committed crime. So please, Ndani, help me through the conversation today so that I don't run off the desk and make sure that the moderation is there. So make sure that I'm safe on that end. So for our viewers who are watching, because I know this is a wide subject, we will not be able to cover all issues regarding law. If you could just send your question on our Facebook page or Twitter or YouTube. That way our technical guys will have the questions and the lawyers will be able to answer some of the questions and not all the questions later in the show. And later, after today, we're going to have one-on-one interview with these 3 wonderful who have agreed to come on the show so that they can really focus on some specific issues that you might have. So thank you guys for really accepting to do that after today. So let's get to it again and talk about COVID-19. Obviously, it's not an issue that is affecting Kenyans, but it's really an issue that is affecting human beings all around the world. It's affecting businesses, it's affecting families, it's affecting pretty much everything that we do. And with that, it made us to start questioning who we are. And the reason as to why we here at KDRTV chose to do this is because we wanted to make sure that we have a positive diaspora narrative, that where things are not working very well elsewhere, I think we can take this as an opportunity for us to grow, not individually, but grow collectively. So let's begin from you, and apart from go back to Wakili Opanda in Texas. You as a person and professionally, how has COVID-19 affected you?
Thank you for the question, Dr. I must say that I'm very grateful that myself, my immediate family has not been affected directly by way of any kind of illness or infection. But we continue to remain prayerful. I also want to extend my condolences to the families of those who may have lost their loved ones, as well as those who are fighting the virus. We do remember you all in our prayers. So the effect, I think, has been felt all over the world, both personally as well as professionally. Personally, in the sense that we've had to change our ways of living. We are working home. I opened up a new academy here in my home, the Opanda Academy, that I now teach myself. I'm having to go back to school and learn to be a teacher, which I took for granted for many years because all I did was just pick them up. So I've got to have quite a diligence in that respect. But it's been a good thing because I've been able to find bond with my little boys and kind of get. I've also had the opportunity to use my home, which I've been paying a mortgage that I really never used as much. So now I know all the corners of. I know where there are cracks coming through, and I'm working on doing and the lawn and all that kind of thing. Professionally affect my clients in some way, because most of them really have been pushed back simply because of the conflicting schedules now that came about, the backlog in the courts. I have cases that have been pushed back almost 8 months, a year plus. Some of them I don't even have the new dates yet, especially in immigration court. So, of course, that raises a lot of concerns to the clients in terms of the anxiety they have because they want to see their cases done, and we want to see that their cases are done as well. But we understand this is a new environment that we're in, and so we just have to adapt to it. And I think the faster we realize and accept it, then the better it is for all of us. So anyway, the effect has been, quite huge, but we're managing the best way we can.
Attorney Opanda, especially when you talk about you becoming a teacher, that makes me feel good, because I get back to school tomorrow and my students are. I want to make sure that their parents understand the pain we feel as professors, but thank you for pointing that as well. So let's go to North Carolina and talk to Mweni. So to you, personal and professional, how is COVID-19 affecting you?
I think that even the more appropriate question would be, how has it not affected? I think life as we knew it has completely been stopped and changed, and it's going to be on the same way for a very long time. So personally, for me, like I said before, I travel probably 4 days out of a week. I'm in a plane. I live in the Northern Virginia area, but I'll be working either from our office in Boston, North Carolina, Dallas. So I'm physically in an airplane every single day traveling to work. So since I think my last flight was, I believe, March 16th, was the last flight that I took traveling, and then we were home. So for me, I'm married with my husband, so it was an amazing 3 months. Thankful that we did not get the exposure to COVID, but because we had nothing to do but to stay home. So my husband's employment as well, he was home working from home. So we were good roommates and good workmates, and we set up our office to be able to work together and to do things. On a personal level, for me was a time to reflect, time to slow down, time to chill, and to be able to get my thoughts in order and be able to wake up in the morning at home, and not having to rush to the airport, not having to be on an Uber ride every single day. So on a personal level, I have to say it has been a blessing in disguise. I have a sister of mine who I see every single month. She lives in Florida, and because of COVID, I wasn't able to see her for a couple of months. So guess what they did? They took a road trip and came over to my house, and we quarantined together for 6 weeks. So on a personal level, it was good, for as much as it would have been. And again, grateful for the fact that we're not exposed, and not personal to me, but exposed to the disease. On a professional level, it was absolutely horrible, okay? I'll give you an example that I had an individual hearing for an immigration matter that was going to be slammed green card fund in April. And I just received notification of the next hearing in 2025. That is not okay, right? We have adjustment of status hearings that have, now we've been told we don't know when we are going to schedule you. And remember, people have been waiting for these things. I'm just waiting for that opportunity to be before a judge, the chance to be before an immigration officer, and then it's been canceled, and there is no end in sight. So on a professional level, it's been difficult not having that actual answer to tell you, hey, don't worry about it, we'll go to court next week. It doesn't work anymore. I mean, for family law matters, where we normally, I can be able to estimate, hey, I'll get you before a judge in 4 weeks. It's not the case anymore. We're doing things on WebEx, the computer is coming down, you're being limited to the amount of evidence that you can present, you're being limited to your number of witnesses that you can have in court. So the profession, it's been absolutely horrible. Going to court, you're being required to social distance, so there's only 10 people can enter the courtroom. So I could go to court and handle 10 cases in a day, but it's not practical. I don't have enough time in my day to handle 10 cases. So I have to split them out. I only do 2 cases in court because you're, in my words, wasting time in line. Again, with the understanding things are different, but trying to make things work. So it's very difficult. Things that could just walk in and out, not anymore. You have to be in line, have to make an appointment. So the question is, how has it not impacted us on a professional level? And then the biggest problem for me is not having the final answer to tell you this is what can be done. It's all too many unknowns out there.
Good point. I like the way you spin. That's why I said from the beginning, when you're dealing with lawyers, even words matter. I like the way you put it the other way around. But also most importantly, good to know that you and your husband are getting along well. I think most people right now, they can't stand one another, and that's one of the disadvantages of COVID-19. But that's good news to hear that at least you and many others are doing the same. So thank you, Mweni. Now let's come back to Ground Zero here in Minneapolis. Wakili Ongeri, share your experience personally and professionally. How is COVID-19 affecting you?
Thank you, Jeremiah. I agree 100% with both of my colleagues that the question really is, which part of our lives has not been touched and disrupted by COVID? And the answer is probably none. Just like my colleagues, we've been fortunate. My family and I have done well so far. Still, knock on wood, we are not out of this yet. So we continue to pray and also hope that at some point a solution is found, because we cannot continue like this. This quote unquote new normal is not good for us, and I don't think it's good for anyone else. As far as home is concerned, I haven't opened a similar facility like my colleague Laban has, but my house has been a beehive of activity trying to homeschool kids. Lawyers are not very good teachers. They talk too long. They give too complicated instructions. It's not fun. My teenage son is not used to seeing me so often, and so that doesn't work very well. But we found a way to make it work. The place that I think I agree with Mweni, the place that has been hardest hit is our professional life and our clients. The nature of our business is that we're in the life and human business. We interact. We are not engineers. We don't deal with tools and steel and plywood and stuff like that. We deal with emotions and human beings. So our clients who already come to us with difficult situations now no longer can count on the wise and warm counsel that they got from their lawyer. they don't have the shoulder to cry on sometimes that they need, and the assurance that things will be okay. My colleague Mweni said, we used to say, yeah, don't worry, we will be in court, we will get this taken care of. Now we can't even tell them that there is a court because we don't have a date. We don't know when it's going to be back. So we are in that situation where we are also just as helpless as our clients, in that we are saying there is not much we can do at this point. But we have tried to make it work. We have made staff changes at the office. We are following the CDC guidelines for washing hands and doing things like that to keep people safe. But again, when you don't get to see your clients and talk to them and get the information you need to prepare your cases and give them some comfort and knowledge that things will turn around, it's difficult. In the community around here, Dr. Kari, you know that summer in Minnesota is probably the greatest in the U.S. I don't know about Dallas and North Carolina, why it might be too hot, but Minnesota is perfect for summer. So our barbecues and our gatherings, our jamhuns, our Liberian Day, none of that is happening. So we have lost. I think we have lost all to this COVID, and that's why I can't wait for it to go away.
I'm assuming it will go away pretty soon. You have known how much I've been sitting at home since March to now. That for the rest of the year I'll be teaching from home. It's not fun, but on TV to do the same. So let's go to the specific. Obviously, our people, the immigrant population right now, cities could be going through some legal issues, right? And probably be looking at you guys and saying, wow, this legal issue, I don't know, or maybe an issue that they may want to relate to. So let's go Texas to you, Wakilo Panda. You've been fairly quiet for some time. So acknowledge that lawyers talk a lot, so that's okay, but we'll try to your ways of doing things. What are the two specific clients are dealing with right now as we go through COVID-19? And by the way, you on the one-on-one show so that you can get into the details of those.
Thank you, Dr. Okari, again. I think there is a variety of issues that are affecting our people, our clients in general. And they vary from just the same we were trying to express ourselves in terms of personal lives as well as professional lives. Many of them, of course, are concerned about the day-to-day living, the ability to make ends meet, the ability to travel, the ability to have a normal life as it were before the COVID-19. So the challenges are universal, I believe. They're not just unique to our clients. But we continue to encourage them because some of the work that we do as attorneys is also as counselors. And so we're able to advise and we're able to guide them in some of these issues that become quite overwhelming. As you can imagine, legal issues tend to be quite engaging for some of these people because their lives are on hold, they're waiting for. Like my sister when he said, some have been waiting for years for their day in court. And then now you go and you're told, the next court date is going to be 4 years away. And so your life is put on hold for all those years. But that's mainly on immigration issues. On the criminal side, they tend to move. We've rather moved a little bit fast on that end. The clerks at the courts have come up with Zoom as a way to have court hearings. They're not as personable as you can imagine. They have their challenges, but we are adapting to them. And so they have kind of helped to kind of move through because, as you know, the rights of a person were not stalled, just because COVID-19 came. So we still have to try and follow what the law says in terms of timelines, in terms of the rights of an individual. So we try to follow that as much as possible. And the courts have generally tried to accommodate those provisions, especially for incarcerated inmates or clients who are detained. But on the other side, on the civil side, we've had to adjust. Everybody understands. We've had to negotiate with the opposing counsel in many cases because we realized that maybe best to work out some deal outside of court because litigation may take such a long time. So we're working. So there's a variety of options we have there, but we're also guided by our clients who give us instructions after we guide them and counsel them as to what we think would be the best way to move forward. So the challenges are many. They come from the personal, and then of course the finances. Many of them have been furloughed or they have been laid off. And of course, that does mean something to me because then that means I'm not going to be paid. And obviously then that means I'm not able to meet my obligations as well. But we've worked together. Everybody understands. We don't live in a vacuum. So everybody understands what the challenges are out there. And as professionals, we've tried to work with them and help them out as much as possible. And then we also have a group, and I should have mentioned this earlier on. We have now 93 Kenyan American lawyers here in the United States. And we have a very solid organization called the Kenya-US Bar Association. And we're able to share, we have a group chat that we're able to share ideas, we're able to share issues, and we help each other that way to navigate through and help our customers and our clients out there, and even the community at large. So that's how we have managed, so far as we try to adapt to this new norm, as you called it.
So thank you, Laban. So let's go to North Carolina. When I know you did mention in your intro there, you do deal with family law, immigration, and beyond, and you're traveling across the country. You mind focusing on two specific issues that your clients face day in and day out that even our target audience probably is experiencing right now?
It's a trick question. There's not two specific issues, not one that is easier than the other or more specific than the other. I don't think this is limited to just clients of attorneys. I think this COVID has affected the world. The biggest thing, one of the big things that I've seen is the fact that people's home lives have been affected, right? In issues of family law, domestic violence has been at a rise, very, very sadly so. But the realization that life as it was, where you could leave your house in the morning, get some peace, be able to step out of the four walls of your house, that has changed. So during this period of COVID, right, when I'm at home, happy, relaxed, having a good time, there's people who are living in hell every single day. So COVID has impacted domestic violence in the fact that it has a reason, because now these abusers or the aggressors in a domestic violence situation have nothing but the time. And the victims are even in more difficult situations. Once the courts reopen in North Carolina on June 2nd, the amount of divorces that have been filed, the court is not able to handle that. So COVID has been able to has affected the lives of people in the fact that people have been forced to be in situations, whether they like it or not, to face issues that they may have not been wanting to deal with before. So that family issue of your life being impacted by being forced to be at home has been very difficult for my family law clients. Issues of custody, whereby you are able to easily exchange children. When there's an order of custody, even when there's not an order of custody, you will find that parents would use COVID as an excuse that, hey, I don't want to bring my child out and expose my child out. Or the parent will just go quiet for months to an end, and the excuse that they have is because of COVID. So it has affected people's everyday living, how they go about their business, how they go about handling their family. On my part, for example, I think COVID has allowed me to be very creative, and I'll use that excuse very quickly about COVID, right? So there's an issue about the fact that we're not able to bring this issue of domestic violence because there's too many. Absolutely not. You need to find a way to expand the operation of the court. We need more judges to be able to act. And again, if you're doing these things on Zoom or doing these things on WebEx, we can get more judges to come, and actually had retired judges come back on the bench to assess cases on. So family court was already so backlogged. So now the court will use the excuse of, oh, we've been down for 3 months. After we're doing these things online, let's find ways to be able to get judges back in and increase the number of courtrooms to adjudicate more cases. We have issues where they're limiting the amount that you can have or limiting the amount of witnesses that you can have. And we get creative. Wow, I'm going to call them and say, hey, let's consent to this. Or I'll go ahead and evidence or mail all my evidence out and use my Rule 4 evidence when the judge says, no, you know, because of COVID, things are difficult. Had we been in court able to use this, a way to be able to do that. So we have to learn how to be able to deal with that brought to us, again, as being as a counsel, being able to deal with people and help them to just deal with day-to-day life. But domestic violence have it really difficult, being able to empower them and make COVID doesn't mean the death of you, that there's places that you can go, things that you can do, find ways to be able to reach out to people, have resources like this where you can be able to solve. And the fear that people have, or the thought that you have that the only attorney or deal with the lawyers when I'm in trouble, absolutely not. We can be able to act and find ways to avoid being down that road of domestic have come up. What can we do to resolve that? These issues of custody, because of COVID, your child cannot leave the house. How else can we be able to resolve? I think it's allowed us to be more creative with even more leeway outside the bounds of the law, because you can always throw in the COVID-19 card and be able to get your way. I think it's been difficult overall. But is there a solution? Absolutely. Is there a way out? Absolutely.
Good. When I'll get to you, and I think for our viewers, just so clear, if you have any question, put that on the comment section, so that they can respond to a few later in the show. Thank you, Mweni. So quickly here, Gary, so specific issue that your clients are facing, and let's try to be lawyers and politicians. Try to stick to less than 2 minutes.
Thank you, Jeremy. Quick things. First, the advantage of seniority is that I don't have, so I associate fully with what my colleagues have said. I'd like to point out 2 things. The first has to do with retained immigration clients. And those have probably got the brunt of this because they have removal orders. They're stuck in some county facilities, some it's, and they are not in their home country yet. And so I transport them. So they are calling me and saying, can you out of this facility or get me to my home country? And I can't do either. The other issue that I have also seen called the ICE pipeline. The activities that mentions, domestic violence cases have been going up, and whose status is unstable or they're undocumented. Here is they are now in ICE custody. And so the ICE has been harming partly, I think, due to COVID. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, as Wakil said, the rights did not change with COVID. The immigrant citizens are still entitled to whatever rights the law provided. So we continue to advise our clients, especially our immigration clients, the do's and don'ts. Here, I won't get into details, but to the ACLU Know Your Rights program, which kind of detail need to be aware, especially if you are in contact with law, and things like don't let them search your stuff without a warrant, false information, don't flee, don't sign anything with counsel and things like that. And also, as they said, COVID has become an excuse for the ones to violate other people's rights. And as lawyers will be vigilant about. For example, in a situation where you are entitled to certain rights, whether it's government or private individuals, just because of COVID is what I think Mweni called an excuse. And we learned against those and will continue being vigilant. So COVID is for that. one thing that Tony Opande is actually the chair of our bar, and both of us have that. Thanks.
Seniority, and then there is the president. So I wonder who is senior. So I think senior will be Mweni for today, and for the sake of the discussion, then the other one we cover it after the show. So get back to you, Mr. President of the Kenyan Bar Association in the U.S. Back to you. Let's talk about immigrants, and I think this is affecting a lot of people, and me personally. Wakil Ongeri knows my parents stay with us here, but traveled back to Kenya, unfortunately, and they have green cards, but they are not able to travel back to the US because of the restrictions. And I'm sure there are a lot of our viewers and immigrants who probably are in the same situation. There are those who are still stuck in their home countries, not necessarily in Kenya, but in Africa or other parts of the world. And there are others actually who are here who should have left back to their home countries, but because of COVID-19, they're not able to travel back to their home countries. And I think some people, probably because of a lack of understanding or knowledge, probably they don't know how to make a decision that is really within the confines of the law. So from your perspective, what are some of the restrictions, or what are the immigration laws relative to movements across the borders and on different US embassies around the world?
Thank you for asking the question, Dr. Okari. So like I mentioned before, the law has not changed as it were before COVID-19. So the law that we are using now is the same law that are pre-COVID-19. Now, we also understand that there are circumstances that happen as it has happened with COVID-19. If you had traveled out of the country and for whatever reason you're stuck there, you're unable to come back, you shouldn't panic too much, because whenever you leave, if you were a green card holder, a legal permanent resident, you know that the law requires that you cannot be out more than 6 months. However, you can be if circumstances demand that you be where you are. So when you come back, what you need to show the customs and immigration officer is simply that you had no intention of staying longer than you stayed. You had every intention and every thought of coming back to the United States. So, of course, they may ask things about what would show that. So, for example, if you have a home here, if you have your car here, you have your life basically is here, then obviously you had no intention of abandoning your legal resident status and going back to your other country. And I think every reasonable immigration officer would understand that that's what it is. Likewise, for those who are here and they got stuck and they were unable to leave on time, because when you come, you're given your duration of stay, which is determined by the I-94 that you receive. But now you were unable to leave because there were no flights. You couldn't travel. My advice would be apply for your extension of stay. All right. Now, it does not have to be approved. It does not have to be agreed upon by immigration. It just has to be timely. All right. So just make sure that before your time of departure arrives, that you file your extension of stay. And when later on it becomes an issue, you'll get the opportunity to explain why did you overstay. And if any reasonable immigration officer would understand that the reason that you overstayed is because you had no way to fly out, you had no way to travel out of the country. So I don't think that those who are out there here in that circumstance need to be gravely concerned about that, but just need to know that what they need to do is prepare themselves. Prepare yourself to extend your time. Prepare yourself to show that you had every intention of coming back. I must also put a little caveat in my speech there that none of my discussion, and I'm sure for all my colleagues here, constitutes legal advice that binds us and you, the viewer, that we advise that you go out and seek proper legal counsel out there on your specific situation, because we don't want to assume that we understand every person's specific need out there. So I just want to say that our conversation bind us to become an attorney contract or communication, as it were, but just sharing for the common good.
Thank you. I think that's a good point to make a disclaimer that you're not advising anybody on what to do from the legal perspective. That's very important. So if I hear you correctly, when you can chip in on the same, I think, and I think you understand the target I'm talking about here. There are people within our community, quite frankly, who don't even want to get close to an immigration office, or even who don't want to see a police officer driving on the highway because of fear of their immigration status. And that's true. Many you might want to add on the same, and I know more specifically the international students here who also are very confused. And I also take note of the fact that some of the cases, I think for the extensions that Wakili Opande is talking about, there's been no response so far from the immigration. Should our people just make an assumption that all immigration officers are going to be reasonable when that time comes? If you don't mind adding to that as well, Lenny.
So the biggest thing and how I want to start this saying is that, lawyer Google is not your friend. You go to Google for everything, and that's where all our answers are. Lawyer Google is not your friend. The fact that you have come here today, you see these 3 lawyers, and Mr. Opande said, I just need to go and talk to them, and that is solid. That is not legal advice. You get legal advice when you contact a lawyer about your case with your specific facts and get an answer towards that. So all we can offer you is general knowledge and general information, but absolutely, immigration is nothing to play around with, right? Your mom's specific situation with her green card, how she got her green card, how long she's had a green card, when she traveled, that situation is very different from somebody else's situation. So do not take that, the fact that you had what Dr. Jeremiah talked about his mom's situation and you think it works out with yours, that is not legal advice. There's all this misconception and this fear of the unknown. I don't want to contact a lawyer. I don't want immigration to know anything about me. So we just go and do research based on Google, on Facebook, or what somebody else gave about the experience and go on with that. That is not the way to do it. The easiest way to be able to do it is to be able to get legal advice. Mr. Opande can be able to get you in contact with any of the over 90 attorneys, Kenyan lawyers in the United States. So there's definitely one close by to you. And if not, lawyers are doing a lot of stuff now over Zoom and WebEx. You can definitely get legal advice. It's always frustrating when someone comes in with such a big problem that was not a big problem to begin with, but it just became a problem because my friend said and Google said and what I saw on TV said, right? So COVID has brought us a lot of fear, right? A lot of fear of the unknown. And because of that, it can be made so much bigger by the fact that this immigration monster is ahead of me. Yes, we've had embassies closed down. Yes, there's some travel bans that have been put in place. Yes, people are stuck in here. Oh my goodness, I'm afraid I'm falling out of status. Oh, my school is closed. What's going to happen about my status? No specific situation has a solution. It's not over until it's over. The good thing about COVID-19, as I said, allowed us to be very creative. And I will throw in that card at any opportunity I get that will be used for your benefit, right? But you don't know about it unless you approach somebody, get the assistance for it. But sitting in fear over the unknown is the wrong thing to do. Getting help is not difficult, right? And it's much cheaper getting the consultation, getting the help at the very beginning, as opposed to you making mistake after mistake after mistake, and it becomes a monster that we are not able to deal with. So Google lawyer is not your friend. Find a lawyer who can be able to offer you the assistance and the opportunities out there. We're here today talking to you about the resources that are there. Take advantage of them, right? And this thing is over when you want it to be over. I'm a Christian, and the number of times I will be outside ICE, outside the courtroom praying, like, we're going to call on the name of Jesus, right? If there's nothing else that we can do. So do not give up, right? But you sitting there cooped up, depressed and scared about it, that's not doing anybody any favors. Step out that door and get some help. There's a solution out there.
So I have to take a pause here and acknowledge one thing. I think Brian, the shows I've had, we've been talking about the issues affecting the immigrants and the negativity that surrounds our story here in the diaspora. But talking to you so far, I can't help but say how proud I am to be associated with you and point out the fact that within our community, we have very brilliant minds. Listening to Mweni itself and young girls watching, I mean, I don't understand why in the next 5 years I don't hear Mweni in the Supreme Court in Washington. I don't see why, or Pande. I mean, I don't. It's completely reasonable to make an assumption in the next few years we're going to hear you somewhere in Washington in the High Court. And to you, Ongeri, I think here in Minneapolis, at the very least, I think you should be moving that law firm and get to the High Court in Minneapolis and do some stuff. So let's get to you, Ongeri, if the cameraman don't mind bringing you on the camera as well. Talk to us about this issue about restrictions, really. And I know you've been involved, including, I know, some of the tragedies I've seen, especially here in the Minneapolis area, even where bad people are passed on, and they cannot even be taken back home to be buried. I think that's something we'll talk about it later, and I know Pat is very passionate about that. What should people know about the travels, and especially those ones who want to book their appointments, the embassies around the world to come here?
Just to thank you, thank you, Jeremiah. I would again, as I said, I would associate with the comments of my colleagues on that subject. The other aspect that we are seeing are people's work authorizations expiring, and that has a cascading effect on their driver's licenses. Some are being kicked out of their leases, and just until recently, CIS was not able to print new cards, so people are really in a bind. But again, our job as lawyers is to see if there's any way around those restrictions and around those frustrations. The two issues I wanted to mention that have been touched on by my colleagues. First, there is a notion that lawyers cost too much. And yes, it's expensive, but how much is the life of your whole family and your own life worth? It's worth money. A lot of lawyers that I know, and certainly that's true of our office, if you talk to us and we realize that you don't have the financial ability to pay our bill, there are options. There are lawyers now who offer what's called unbundled legal services. In other words, there are creative ways that you can be able to afford the lawyer so that you don't use attorney Google that Mweni mentioned, but then you don't pay top dollar if you don't have it. We have in our office, we have a very good relationship with the organizations that offer either reduced or free legal services. We refer clients there who are unable to pay. So I do not see an excuse for taking a risk with such important issues in your lives as the immigration of yourself and your family, just because you think you can't afford it. Most lawyers I know would not charge you for talking to them to evaluate your situation. Some may charge a fee, but you can always talk to them. Remember, as lawyers, we love to talk. We love a good argument, and we can take, excuse me, we can handle that. The other thing is, my friend was told this, or my friend had this case. The danger with that is that, as we all know, the law turns on very tiny nuances, and every case tends to be different. We don't encourage people to sit in some basement and compare their situations and say, yeah, I think we can do this. It is really risky to put all the things that you have worked for in that box where you really don't know what's going to happen because you either filled the wrong form or you sent it to the wrong office or you attached the wrong information. So what we're telling people is that, yeah, do it yourself also works in law. We're not saying you have to have a lawyer every time. In fact, I have a friend of mine who has this service where the client does the work, especially if it's an immigration filing, and submits the information to the lawyer. The lawyer takes a look, charges a small fee, and it goes. That is a much better option than just taking chances with this. And that's like Attorney Google is not your friend. The immigration service generally isn't there to fix things that you have screwed up. If you are lucky, they will charge you more money. If you're not lucky, they will put you in removal proceedings. And that is a much, much more expensive option than just simply being honest and talking to a lawyer near you, or as we said before, now we have a network of lawyers really close to where almost every client lives, and you can get help that way.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Tony Ongeri, the good perspectives. And I think let's move further and have discussion. I think you've alluded to some of these questions, pretty general questions, but if you don't mind touching on some specific issues that you might think are important for our population. And the question is about the impacts on the immigrant population per se. What cases have changed, or what section of the law should people know? I know you guys said the law has not changed, but again, we also understand that within our population, there are different people who have different status. There are international students, there are those ones who are already citizens, there are those ones who have green cards, there are those ones who are in different immigration categories, and there are also those ones who have different questionable immigration status, if you understand what I mean. So let's go down to Texas, to you, Wakil Opande. What are some of the impacts on this, and what should our people know?
Harry, like I said, before I answer that question, let me kind of go back to what my senior was saying, and even my sister Mwenu was saying about legal consult. It is just imperative that you seek legal consultation. It doesn't matter whether you know any one of us or anyone of us, but go seek legal counsel at the beginning of your issue. Do not gamble. It becomes way more costly to fix a problem that you have already created than if you actually sought help from the beginning. That we cannot overemphasize. The second thing, I think, it's also to prioritize. I know my friends, I know my neighbors, I know my community members. We'd rather go and have a barbecue nyama choma at the park and throw out a party for my friends and spend $500, spend $1,000. But then when it comes to what really matters to them, their status, their family status, it's not a priority. And you just don't understand where are your priorities? And I'm only saying this because I know them. I know they're my people, they're my fellow community members, and I know what their issues are. And yet you just look around and you just get amazed. Now, it's not in my space to advise you on how to lead your personal life and what you need to prioritize. But I think, as reasonable as you can be, please, as my sister said, your family is very important to you. As my brother senior said, what is it worth, for you to be doing all these other, shenanigans around and not be able to put yours in the first place. All right, now to the question that you were asking, the law hasn't changed. All right, I don't know how else we can emphasize that. The law is the same pre-COVID as it is now. Now, people sometimes may get confused when the president issues executive orders. Okay, now just be in the know. Executive orders are the weakest in rank when you're talking about the hierarchy of laws, from the most superior, which is the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and the executive order, which is just, I don't want to say it's not a law, but in terms of strength, it is the weakest of the laws. And that's why every day, almost every executive order the president has issued, not just the current president, but even the previous presidents, gets challenged. And many of them get stopped right in their track. Now, you have to appreciate how government works. Every government that comes in has its priorities, has its policies that they want to implement. And sometimes they always are required to implement those policies within the law. They cannot implement a policy that violates the current law, which is either an act of Congress or the U.S. Constitution. So if you're a new president, you're making an executive order, it has to conform to that. And so therefore, much of what is said out there, what comes in through the media, is what the president issues as executive orders. And by the way, he issues a lot more executive orders than we know. I mean, the ones that really are highlighted are usually just about the immigration aspect of it, and sometimes, hot topics, that are out there. But the president issued thousands of executive orders during their tenure. So anyway, you don't need to worry too much about that. It's just that you have to be attuned. For sure, you have, and we live in a moment where there is just too much noise going on around, too much fear mongering going on, too much wrong information, too much fake news, as some call it. And so it becomes a challenge to decipher as to what is true and what is not true. And that is where we default to. If you have a legal issue, go seek counsel. Go talk to an attorney. He'll be able to tell you, what does that executive order imply in terms of your situation? What does the law say in terms of your legal situation? And what is the experience? In our personal experience as practitioners, how we've been able to navigate and maneuver through some of these issues. And then you can get good guidance from there. So the law hasn't changed. Do not panic about the executive orders that are issued. They're mainly just supposed to guide a certain policy or a certain way that the government wants to run things, which is fine. That is what they were elected for. Sometimes it's what they promise the people that they'll deliver. So they have to try and do that. There's nothing wrong about that. It's just about that's what the current administration of the day wishes to do and how they wish to run the show.
That's good knowledge, by the way. I'm also learning here. So when you can add on to what Wakilo Opande is saying, and I know the president did order an executive order not too long ago, particularly on issues on visas and employment visas or something like that for the remainder of the year. So is that suggesting that that is not enforceable, is not law? Or what does that mean, Mweni?
Yeah, sure. So there's a whole lot of executive orders that are issued every year. So just, they're just the same way you said it. It was an executive order about something about employment, right? So we have that misconception, and, we've just had something somewhere about an executive order, but we don't have the details of it. I tell you that we've done several H-1Bs applications and our applications, which are all employment-based visas. So absolutely, they are still being processed. What I will tell people, the law has not changed, COVID hasn't changed, and it's not just about 2020. The difference with immigration today and maybe 4 years ago is a difference in administration, right? So the president has changed, but the law has not changed. What could have changed is the issue of fear mongering. Let me tell you the amount of fear, baseful or without basis. There's a lot of fear that surrounds anything to do with immigration. Again, I'm in my capacity as an attorney and also as an advocate to be able to counsel people and tell them what it is. I always say, listen, you have two options. You have an option to be here and get things straight, or an option to go home. But I absolutely am against somebody being in this country without legal status and doing nothing about it, and you're doing nothing about it because you're scared. Because somebody else said something, somebody did something, CNN said something. There's an executive order that says no more employment applications. So you sit down and do nothing. And I'm very against that. I'm against the fact that we go to court and we lose a case and you think that life is over. Absolutely not. I will tell you, let's take a plane and let's go back home and continue living life. Do not stay here in a place of defeat. This immigration stuff, anything legal, half of it is a mental battle. Okay? So if we can beat you in your head, we are going to beat you. I am an attorney, but I have to work with you to get the result that you want. You have to be at a space, at a mindset of wanting to do something about it. I am not going to be able to be effective to work with you if you are defeated in your head. If this thing is over, let's go home. If it's not over, let us fight. Me and you fight together. But sitting in fear, sitting in the unknown and being unwilling, unable, not wanting to do anything, absolutely not. The law has not changed. Yes, the administration has changed, but the administration is limited to what they can do. Can he spread rumors? Can he spread fear? Absolutely he can. How can we resolve that? Pick up the phone and speak to an attorney. These are my facts. This is my situation. Is there a solution to it? And what is that solution and how can I do something about it? People have been here for 20 years.
Okay. Did we
comfortable, right?
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Yes, you're on. Yes, you're on.
Yeah, so the issue that we have is that you've been very okay for the past 20 years and you have been complacent. So now that you want to do something else, you take a step back or you're hesitant about it because life has always happened. But I tell people all the time, those past 20 years, we had a different administration. Things are different now. But you cannot sit here unwilling to do something about your status. Is there a solution? Do you want a solution is always my question. And what have you done to be able to take steps towards that solution? So the law has not changed. COVID has not changed anything. It has elevated the amount of fear, elevated the amount of the unknown, but that should give you the opportunity and should nudge you even more to finally take a step and do something about your situation.
So I think those ones, particularly from our community who are listening to what Mweni is saying, that statement is lauded, and it's coming from a sister who's extending what I can describe as tough love. I mean, if you have a situation, do something. I think that those are the key words, if I hear that correctly, and I think people will make sense of what she's trying to say. Do something, and I think this aspect of fear as well, the fact that unfortunately in our communities we have some sense of distrust to ourselves. Like I can't call Wakili Ongeri, I can't call Opanda, I can't call Mweni. I think it's time we get beyond that so that we can reach out to lawyers who understand where we're coming from. And by so doing, like to Mweni's words, so that we fight it together. I think I appreciate that the way you put those words, Mweni, and I think that's very well put. So, Ongeri, let's move slightly further. In addition to what the two lawyers are saying, within our community, and let me tell you this, and every Monday I wake up in the morning, particularly here in the Twin Cities area, I do go around the county jail, and there are those rosters. And trust me, every Monday I do see, they put those names of who are in the jail system or the roster system. I can't tell you how much I get disappointed to see a lot of names that clearly sound like Kenyan. Clearly, every Monday, and sometimes I check 2, 3, 4 days later, those names are still in jail, in part because people fear to explain their problems. So let's talk about the criminal law, Ongeri. Has the criminal law changed? And I think some of the, especially, and I'm sorry to point out what I've seen, because I know I brought some young people here, and some of them have spent most of the time in jail than really being outside, in part because of, quite frankly, not very smart decisions, and end up being in the criminal justice system. Ongeri, has the criminal law really changed?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I would reiterate what my colleague said, that the law hasn't changed. The perception of what the law is may have changed, and that is really where I'd like to spend a few minutes to talk about the convergence of law and politics. If you look at the law that affects immigrants in the United States, the only way you're going to change the Immigration and Naturalization Act is through an act of Congress passed through the Senate and signed by the president. That has not happened. But how we talk about immigrants, especially from the highest offices in the land, appear to have changed. The fear that my colleagues are talking about is driven in part by politicians or political groups that want to demonize the immigrant, that want to say that some people don't belong. Now, in terms of response, what we do, I would straight out tell my clients, those who are eligible to vote, that no, it is not hopeless. At the end of the day, if you organize and participate and vote, you will elect a member of Congress who would have a hand in the legislation that ultimately affects us. So, should we encourage people to go out in November and vote in droves? Absolutely. Because then, if you change the politicians, you change the message. Then you will change the perception of the law, even if the act is never amended. With regard to the to the young men and women who are being dragged into the jails, local and otherwise, I would say that nothing is different. COVID, not COVID, there may be more of them because people are staying home longer. They are probably drinking more. They have more time in their hands. They are fighting a lot more. And that's why you may have seen numbers go up. But the law, as far as what you can and cannot do, according to the laws of whichever state you live in, have not changed. In other words, if you are fond of what we see happening, quote unquote, disciplining your spouse before COVID, that was illegal in Minnesota and I'm sure in every other state, and it's still illegal today. So COVID has not changed any of that. And if you did that in March or December, you would have been in jail. And if you did that today, you'll be in jail still. But I would like our people to take this, if they get nothing else from this conversation, is that they have power within themselves to change the circumstances. It's not a political session, but I would really not avoid mentioning John Lewis. We have to read and study John Lewis and say, we can change a situation. And let's not kid ourselves, whether we stay here for the next 100 years or we go back home. Let's change the place during the time that we live here. So I don't want us to be sitting, just like colleague Muyeni said, don't on your hands in a situation and say there's nothing I can do. Yes, there are things you can do, and we are challenging you to do that. I have no time for clients who come to me and say, okay, can we talk to Senator so-and-so? And I say, yeah, we can, but do you even vote? No, I don't think my vote matters. You cannot say your vote doesn't matter and come to us to try and get help through congressional leaders who you have decided not to participate in their election. I think there is a sense of responsibility also for us. As bad as the laws may be, we have an obligation to do something about it. And if nothing else, at least let's do that.
Eddie, let me get to you, Opande, and I think I appreciate the way, the tone that Muyeni used there moments ago, and I think you see a comment there, somebody talking about how kind and she had. We're not just talking about lawyers here, and I think that's clear, to make it very clear. We're not talking about lawyers here, but we are talking about brothers and sisters who are in a position to inform our community. We need to be very clear, and I think that's what Muyeni is trying to allude from an emotional statement that she made a few moments ago. Let's talk about the criminal aspect of it. I think for those of us who came to this country, we came here to build and enjoy the American dream. But unfortunately, there are many circumstances where this dream has been completely destroyed because of a lack of understanding or really not associating with the right minds. Talk to our brothers and sisters who could potentially be committing crimes because they have no knowledge and potentially killing their dreams. Because once we kill one dream, it surely devastates not just dreams, but even families back at home. Do you want to talk to that as a big brother here, Opande?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I have for criminal law, even though I practice only cases that I use, all kinds of criminal cases, I have a great love for that area of law. Now, one thing I must say, all of us here on this panel, all the viewers who are out there, are simply one poor judgment away from being a criminal. That's all it is. One poor judgment and you are a criminal. Now, that's not even to say that many times we crime and we are not caught. All right. How many times you drive from the bar drunk and you make it home and you can't remember how you made it home, right? Times you speed on the freeway and just because the cop did not see you, so you think you did not commit a crime. If the post say 50 miles per hour and you're driving 60 miles per hour, you're committing a crime. So we don't think a crime in that respect. Right? We only imagine that a criminal is the person who is caught. Not all of us who continue to do things that are. Now, listen, If you're a reasonable person at any one time, you know what is right and what is wrong, right? You know you're not supposed to be speeding in a school zone. You know it. If you've lived here long enough, you know it. You don't have to wait for a cop to stop you to know you did something wrong, right? So you, by getting away, does not mean that now you're smarter or you're better than the one who was caught, all right? But nevertheless, if we have gotten to that point where we've made that poor judgment, okay, then the next thing now is, what should you do? And that is where you need to get legal counsel. In fact, from the moment you get arrested, even the officers have been trained to tell you, to read to you what we call the Miranda rights, all right? They are basically telling you, all right, now you're under arrest. And you know, the thing about this country, even despite what we see in the media in terms of the some cases where the officers have been quite violent and discriminating against, but on the most part, the officer will stop you and they'll say, sir, can you pull over? Sir, can you, you know, they're very polite in terms of getting the information for you. And you start thinking that they're your friend, right? You start giving, letting your guard down. The officer is simply wanting to make his case easy for himself. There's nothing about that he's with you, right? So here, from the moment you've been pulled over, the moment you come into contact with a police officer, I'm not saying respectful, I'm not saying be uncooperative, but just know your rights. That whatever you say from there on, all right, and sometimes you may say, it's the easiest way for me to go home. No, the officer is on duty. He has a full shift. Taking you to jail is part of his job. That's what he has to fulfill before he goes home. And so you being aware about those kinds of environments and not being able to know what you need not to say in that scenario, in the end, is going to help you. A lot of times when I come to see what the officers have, sometimes you start scratching your head as to where do you start from here now? Because you dug yourself in such a deep hole in the hope that you are to convince the officer to let you go. But the officer was trying to close his case and you gave him all. You gave him everything. You dug yourself in a very deep hole. So it's good to be informed about your rights. You don't have to say anything you want to say to the officer if you're not sure what the impact is going to be. Seek legal counsel. Call your attorney. I've had clients call me at 3 o'clock at night, you know, and some officers allow them. They tell them, all right, yeah, you can call your attorney if you want. All right. And some of them even ask, which attorney is this that is answering calls at 3 o'clock in the morning? Because they think maybe, you know, it's a sham that they're pulling up on the officers. And then I'll talk to them and they'll say, well, sir, this is what we're going to do. This is what we are looking at. This is what your client has said. And then I say from that point, hey, listen, don't say no more. All right. If you need to go in, just go in. We'll arrange for you the bond. We'll get you out. We'll figure out what to do from there. That is a smart and the best way to handle those kinds of things. But otherwise, well, I guess I should say, the first thing is, let us not find ourselves in those scenarios in the first place. All right. Now, if it inevitably happens because of your poor judgment, then be smart about it. Be smart about what you need to say, how you need to say it, and preserve yourself, you know, for a fight. Otherwise, if you throw everything that you have at the officer, then you don't have nothing else to come back with when the prosecutor is fighting you. That's what I wanted to say about that.
Good point. I think a fascinating conversation. Quite frankly, I'm even learning a lot. So before we even finish, I know Dr. Kaniaru is standing by to talk about living a healthy life during COVID-19. Dr. Kaniaru, hold for a second. We'll get you on in a moment here. Let me get to you, Mweni. And I know you've talked about family law, and I've watched you several times in your presentation. And some of the discussions that we've had on the show, I think most of the time revolve around family. Right, a lot of families breaking. I mean, these things happen. We do understand that, and I know, based on what you are saying here, you really, it's not fun for you picking cases, going to court, because you want to make sure there is a family that is legally being separated. You mainly, it's not something that you want to do, but legally it's something that you're obliged to do. And I think some of our people, what I've seen and I've had conversations, some of our people don't even understand what it really means by picking that call, calling 911. They don't even understand the ramification of that. Sometimes they run into courts without understanding what it is. They spend a lot of money, a lot of emotional trauma, and then at the end of the day, they realize it's not worth it. So do you mind speaking straight to our audience, particularly about matters of family law? What should people know so that they make a reasonable judgment before they rush to the court? Reasonable meaning that you put the emotions away and then think very constructively before you move to the court. Many.
As an immigrant community, the biggest thing that I always ask people all the time is to offer some grace and to be kind. The people, we are usually in a big box only because of what people will say or what will people at home think about it, what will the community say about it when somebody is arrested. That's the biggest fear of, oh my goodness, I'm on that paper and everybody in the community will know it, and mama this and mama that will talk about it. So that fear cripples people. Because of that fear, you don't want to reach out and be able to get some help. So I ask people, offer some grace. I think family life is difficult. I haven't personally experienced that. I am a proponent of marriage. I have been very, very happily married for 5 years. I always tell people, if I knew it was going to be this great, I've been married 10 years ago, right? And I've been brought up with both my parents. So I value family. I think it's a really great institution to be in. It's an absolutely solid foundation. But I realize not everybody experiences that. And you're forced to have this persona or put up this show of my family is perfect, because if I do not do that, what are people going to say about it? And because of that, people are victimized years and years and years. Somebody walks into my office and tells me about a difficult marriage of 20 years. And I'm thinking, I don't have that patience to be unhappy for 5 minutes, right? Kudos to you for being patient for this 20 years, for whatever reason you did it, to be because you want to keep your kids together, or for whatever the reason that you did it. I don't think that you have to, right? And especially you're doing it because of what people will say and what people will think. If we can all as a community be gracious, just to be kind to people and understand that facts are not the same, right? Maybe there was a push to get married. Maybe there's a push to be able to stay into a relationship. The people who have difficult children, okay? And if you have difficult children, it's pointed toward one parent or the other, or it's considered that you have failed in life, and that is not the case. So let's be gracious about it. I think personalities mashing together is going to be difficult. I think you having teenage children is going to be difficult. I think raising children in America with your Kenyan roots and your Kenyan mentality is going to be difficult. So let's be gracious about it. If we can be gracious about it, I think that can enable people to have that, I guess, the gut or the empowerment or the ability to step up and ask for some help. The good thing about this country is the availability of resources. And there's so many resources available, even without you having to spend a lot of money to be able to get it, right? You can be able just to reach out to your local community. You can be able to reach out to we personally here in North Carolina have a domestic violence hotline. I believe there's one nationwide as well. There are resources available to you regardless of your immigration status. But if you're having that fear of being able to reach out because what people will say is going to be very difficult. The fear of me reaching out to a Kenyan lawyer because if I reach out to her, other people will be able to know that we are bound by attorney-client confidentiality. And I tell people, do not talk to me, just talk to somebody, right? Talk to a pastor. Oh, I'm concerned about the Kenyan community pastors. That's fine. Reach out to another pastor. Do not sit there by yourself having a difficult time. Realize that it is okay. Sadly, your situation is not unique to you. The only problem is that people don't talk about it. All that people talk about is how it's supposed to be perfect and how it is perfect. You don't have somebody else stand up and speak about how they've overcome domestic violence, how they've overcome being able to having difficult children, how they've been able to successfully co-parent, right? So let's erase that mentality of being judgmental, of being difficult towards people. And you have that power. It's available to you. Just step into it and be able to get some help and reach out. And you reaching out can have an impact on somebody else, giving them that power to do the same thing. The resources are available to us. Regardless of your social economic status, regardless of your immigration status, there's help available for you. I do a lot of pro bono work with Legal Aid of North Carolina. So a good amount of my domestic violence and my family law clients are pro bono that I get to them through these charities or legal aid of North Carolina. So these things are available. I'm the same lawyer you'd come and hire and pay me for that difficult family law case, but also work with Catholic Charities or legal aid, and they'll send those clients to me. So the resources are available. Take advantage of it. And let's, as a community, let's be gracious. Let's absolutely be gracious to one another.
I think that's very well said. I don't think I'm going to dwell on the family issue. I think Mweni has done it extremely well, and I want to respect that, so that maybe we welcome her next time so that she can dive into the details of that part of the law. So before we finish, guys, Dr. Kaniaru is standing by. Let's talk about yourselves. And I want to start with you, Opande, and I'm going to ask the cameraman to take me off the camera. Talk to our viewers what you do, where you're best, so that if they want to reach you, and part of why we're doing this, we also want to make sure we network and promote one another. So here's a chance for you, 1-2 minutes. Talk about what you do, where you're best, and how your clients can reach you. So if the cameraman can take me off the camera.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Okari. And like I said, we're very grateful that you invited us here to fellowship with our fellow community members, Kenyan, African, and American communities, wherever they are. Even as I understand, you also have viewers all the way back in Kenya. Like I've said earlier, I am based in Texas. I practice law here in Texas. I live in Houston area, but practice both in Houston and Dallas, but I also have clients all over the state. And of course, I also practice in immigration law, which is personal injury, wrongful death, and aviation law. In fact, as I speak right now, we're representing families from the Ethiopian Airlines in Chicago, Illinois, which has been a great, we've spent a great ton of time in that arena. Now, the bottom line is the law has not changed. So all of us, what we need to do is just be aware about our rights. And it starts from knowing right and wrong. If you know that, then you really have an idea about what the law is about. So all you need to do is know your surrounding, know what your rights are, seek legal counsel. As we mentioned, we have now a very robust bar, Kenya U.S. Bar Association, which I as a president, and we have attorneys all over. So if you need to speak to someone whom you believe maybe you can relate to, perhaps because of the background, then just reach out to us and we can always connect you to someone who is nearby you. Otherwise, we also want to reiterate the need for those who are able to participate in the civic and election processes, both national as well as local. Because like my brother was saying, you don't want to participate in electing the people who are actually making the laws that govern you. But you want to challenge the law and you want to challenge an issue, but you don't want to take part in that process. So it's very important that for those who are able to participate in electioneering, please do, whether as a candidate or as a voter, so that you can shape how you live, the communities that you live, the schools that you live, the state that you live in, and the country that we live in. Lastly, I also want to mention that we shouldn't take this country as though we are passers-by. This is you lived here for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. Now, I don't know what you call if you're staying in a place that you're paying taxes to, in a place that your kids are going to school, in a place where you have a network of friends. This is home. So it's not to say we forget about Kenya. It's not to say that we forget about where we grew up or were born. But the reality of it, as adults, this is where we are participating greatly in our adult lives. So it's about time that we accepted that and immersed ourselves. And I think the sooner we do it, we keep talking about other communities that have taken over. We talked about the Somalia community, the Indian community, the Filipino community, the Chinese community. And once they get to a place, they just become part of the process. And that is the beauty about the American dream. And that is the beauty about living in America, that you can be wherever and wherever you want to be. And lastly, let me also encourage the people who come from my community, Kenyan community, and they come here and they don't want to accept the new laws and the new environment that they're in. And they want to live as though they are living the same way they lived in Kenya. And some of the challenges we have as a community arise out of that, not recognizing that you're in a new country that has new laws that you need to adapt to and obey. So we have I was talking about the domestic violence cases, for example, are usually born of culture that we have back at home and transporting it here and believing that that's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. So we need to know where we are and change with the environment that we are in. So thank you very much for hosting us again, Dr. Kari, to further engagement with the community. If you want to know about myself more, you can go to www.opandelo.com or email me at Laban, Laban, at opandelo, opandelaw.com. My cell phone is 713-446-339. You can call me anytime, even at 3 a.m. in the morning. Thank you kindly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very nicely said, Laban. It's absolutely an honor to have you on. So let me go to North Carolina. Mweni as well. How will people get to you? But I also want you to talk about something that is very special. I think there are 3 men on the show right now. The only female, extremely brilliant. There are many young girls watching this and wondering, they didn't even know they're lawyers. They didn't even they're female lawyers of Kenyan origin. And here you are. As you make your closing statement, letting the people know where you are located, talk also straight to the young girl who is watching and who really wants to aspire to be a lawyer as well.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. It's been great to be able to speak out and to serve a community, just to let them know about what options are out there for them. I don't know if there's anything special I can tell any little girl or any big girl, and the fact that there's absolutely nothing that you cannot do that you set up your mind to do. I knew I wanted to be an attorney at probably I think class 5. My mom has always been and professionally was a legal assistant. So I would always go to work with her, and she was, a secretary for this lawyer, that lawyer. And I used to tell her that, I'm very interested in who works back there. But she has been a legal assistant and a secretary. Having gone to school in Polytechnic up until before we came to the United States, she was managing a law firm in Nairobi as a secretary. And she has been my absolute inspiration. But from class 5, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Even coming to the United States and being told that, unless you're a nurse, you're not going to be able to make it. But I cringed at the sight of blood. So I came to the United States. I do not know any single lawyer other than all the bosses that my mom had growing up. But came and went to school after finishing undergraduate, went to law school and graduated and got to practice what I'm very passionate about. And my mom today is a legal secretary at my office. So willing to tell you that whatever it is that you put your heart to, you can do it. And the only way that I'm able to do it is because of the strength of God. I'm very proud to work with myself, so I do not shy from my faith, that I have been able to be where I am because of my relationship with God. So like I said, I stand outside ICE, stand outside USCIS, stand outside the courtroom, pray over my cases because I know I'm only able to do what I've done because of my relationship with God. So absolutely nothing is impossible. If you want a solution to it, and again, it's a bad thing. I'm not giving you a guarantee that your case is going to be successful, but do you want to make it work? It's not over until it's over, right? And as long as you're willing to fight until the very end. I don't believe in impossibilities. If it's impossible, if it's over, then be done and move on. We talked about the people who are, I go to jails all the time and I tell people, you're behind that. You've made a bad decision, but I believe in second and third and fourth and fifth chances, right? It's not a ticket for you to be able to make the same mistake over and over again, but at no chance should you fold your hands and say it's over because I got a criminal charge. Well, shame on you for getting it, but what do we do after that, right? my family is working down and I have a divorce. And then, so what do we do after that? Like, it's not over until you say it's over. Like, my application for green card has been denied. So what do we do after that? That mental blockage of it's over is one thing that I will never work with. If it's over, then let's quit and let's be done with it. But don't just sit there and be at a difficult place or the willingness to do something about it. So I have been called, I believe, to be a helper, which is what I think I'm able to be very successful in my personal life and in my professional life. So that person that can stand with you, what is looking to be done, how can we make it be done, that I'm that person for you. So I get to enjoy to do that. And I think it's just a blessing that that's what an attorney is being that helper person to stand next to you. So it comes naturally to me. But again, it's a passion that I've had ever since I was a little girl, living the dream that I've always had. And it's not because I'm any special than anybody else or came from anything special. It's just the fact that I trust a God who's able to do absolutely anything. I live in the Northern Virginia area with my husband. And I, work out of our office in Washington, D.C. Our main office is in North Carolina in Raleigh, and which I travel to every morning at 8 o'clock and then take the 8 p.m. flight back home. That was pre-COVID. I also have our office in Dallas that I fly to pre-COVID every week, and the office in Boston as well. But now we've been home, able to do things on video, able to do things on the phone, which has been a blessing for me as to that fact. And I miss all my people at the airport, but it's been nice being home and not being running to an Uber to an airport every single time. So I do work at Wanjohi and Muli Law Firm with a very good friend of mine, Mr. Charles Wanjohi. He 100% does immigration law. My majority of my practice is immigration as well, but I also do a whole lot of family law because I'm passionate about that area of law. Our website is wanjohimulilaw.com. Number you can reach us is 1-888-WAKILIS, WAKILIS. My cell phone number is 919-247-2344. And like Mr. Opanda, you cannot call me at 3 o'clock. I will be praying for you, but next morning I'll be sure to give you a call once I do get your message. But we will be glad to serve in any way that we can. And I always tell people, find that person that you can relate to, but you cannot do this thing by your own. And thank you for the opportunity.
Mweni, I like that. Opanda, I'll call you tomorrow at 3 in the morning. I want to make sure that you really pick that call. but I like I like the fact that when you be praying for us, that's good. We'll keep you in prayers as well. But Opanda, I'll make sure I do that tonight at 3 in the morning. So thank you, guys. Let's come back home here in Minneapolis and talk to the senior. I hope you acknowledge that for the moment. Ongeri, make your closing statement. I'm sure you're very popular here in the Minneapolis and Paul area, but also there are viewers obviously watching you from across the country and overseas. Let the people know, and then your closing statement.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you for the KDRT team for giving us this chance. I like it when we get to engage the community in a conversation like this. I think you did a wonderful job of teasing out the issues that my colleagues and I have been able to handle. I appreciate their insights and their knowledge. And as I said earlier, being the senior gives me the luxury of sitting back and having them do the heavy lifting. Just one quick thing I wanted to share with your audience, and that is the power of dreaming, and that is the power of sticking to it and refusing to quit. The reason I would like to say that is because I believe I'm a living testament of that. Here's why. I was admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya in 1996. I came to the United States chasing the American dream that we all talk about. And the first stop I made in St. Paul, I asked for an opportunity to practice law because that's all I knew. And I was told I'm not even qualified to take the bar exam because the University of Nairobi, from where I had graduated, was not regarded as a law school for American purposes. That was way back in 1999. I refused to quit. And for about 5-6 years, my 4 friends of mine and I fought went to court. Our case eventually ended up in the Minnesota Supreme Court. And all we were seeking was an opportunity for me to practice the only craft that I know. It took us 10 years of fighting a system that did not want me to practice law because they thought I was either not good enough or the school I came from, nobody had ever heard of it. I stuck to it. I said, it's either I practice law in the US or I go back to Kenya to practice law. And today I am proud to tell all the immigrants and all the other people who are struggling with a difficult situation, who are seeing darkness in front of them, that you stick to it, you fight, you insist, and it will come to pass. The good news from Abraham Lincoln, the great Abraham Lincoln, is that the good thing about the future is that we only live a day at a time. It only comes one day at a time. So if you believe that you have a dream, please, please, whatever you do, do not quit on it. Stick to it. Keep working at it. It will happen. And I can tell you that because I have lived it. Thank you. As I said, our office is the Transatlantic Law Firm. We are located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our website is diasporalawyers.com. diasporalawyers.com. My cell phone number, and I don't know how I feel about 3 o'clock morning calls, but give it a shot. I may or may not answer. It's 612-558-9487. And to reach us at the office, you dial 952-222-3873. And for those who are on Twitter, I'm at Wakili Ongeri. Twitter is Wakili Ongeri. I really appreciate your attention. We'll be seeing you again. Whatever you do, don't quit on your dreams. Thank you.
Very well said, Senior. We have to do this for you. I think Opande will not oppose that one. I'm sure he's going to call you later and say, Mzee, that job well done. Hey guys, it's let me say this on behalf of the crew here at KDRTV. Thank you so much. It's an absolute honor having you on. I think it's been fascinating. I think from the comments you're seeing, people are very fascinated about your conversations. And I think that's one of the best ways to give back to our community. I think if God has given us the chance to be what we are, I think it's reasonable for us to also try to give as much as we can to our community. And I think I also want to extend my sincere appreciation for you guys agreeing to come back on the show on one-on-one interviews. I think that'd be good so that we can really dive into the issues that affect our community. So thank you so much. On the same note, I want to encourage anybody within our community who is in a position where you think you can contribute constructively to our collective well-being. Please, KDRTV is your friend. Feel free to call us. We'll schedule a time you can come on there and then we can have this discussion. And I think by so doing, we can together grow. As Wakili Ongeri said, together we'll be able to grow. And Mwene, I really appreciate you bringing that spiritual part to the conversation. But for Mr. Opande, he owes me something, so I'll call him at 3 in the morning to make sure that is done. I'm going to do that. So for viewers, before you even hop out, please follow us. Go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. That's the only way we can grow so that we can continue this conversation. Also go to Facebook, follow us on facebook.com on KDRTV World News. Follow us and try to engage. Yes, like it, but also engage. Try to make comments. Let's know how we can improve. That'll be great for us. Also follow us on our Twitter handle. That'll be great for us to grow. Meanwhile, Dr. Daphne Kaniaru from California, one of our own medical doctor, very brilliant young doctor. She's standing by. So after the break, we're going to come back on to have a continued conversation around living a healthy life during COVID-19. But for now, Wakili Opande, thank you very much. My sister, good friend, Mweni, thank you very kindly for doing this. And here at home, Wakili Ongeri, thank you as always. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have...
Far away from you. Money transfer services have expensive fees. They cannot ensure that your money is spent on the intended healthcare needs. And there are many questionable pharmacies that sell low quality, unsafe, and even counterfeit medications. That is why we created Diaspora Care, a secure, quick, and cost-effective way to pay for the medications of your loved ones through our network of accredited and registered pharmacies. So here's how it works. Meet David. He lives far away from home. Unfortunately, his mother was recently diagnosed with diabetes, but she can't afford her new medication. So after funding his Diaspora account, David enrolls his mother as a beneficiary, and a unique PIN code is issued. Think of this as a digital voucher that David paid for in advance. David's mother presents the PIN code at one of our accredited and registered in-network pharmacies. The cost of her medication is deducted from David's account, and his mother can walk in and out of the pharmacy with the medication she needs. It's as easy as that. David can also assign his uncle who lives close to his mother as a caretaker to help her follow the new diabetes treatments. For extra security, David can also create one-time PIN codes and manually confirm and approve medication purchases too. It's easy to send more money home and hope they got spent on buying safe medication. But what if you can have control over how your money is spent, gain access to safe and quality medication, and purchase multiple medications for multiple family members who are in need? Your money goes a lot farther, and healthcare becomes a lot more inclusive. Diaspora was created by Diaspora members for Diaspora members that help provide greater access to safe, quality, and affordable medications for your loved ones back home. It's time for your loved ones to get the quality medication they need, and for you to get the peace of mind you deserve. Sign up today and register your loved ones for free at diasporacare.com.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Doctor.
I'm good. I see the light.
Yes, you wanna move your laptop, just put it towards you. Yes, that's good. Good. Hey Daphne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good. So it should be good. Hey, welcome to KDRTV Live. So we are live right now. We obviously streaming live. We are on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on YouTube. People across the country, US are watching, and those ones in Africa, especially in Kenya, who are watching. It's almost 9 o'clock in Kenya. So before people go to bed, they've been waiting for you. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I feel pretty good. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, during COVID-19, it's difficult sometimes to feel good. I just get nervous walking into the doctor's office. So I'm kind of nervous. Just make me comfortable. How is California and family and everybody doing okay there?
Everybody's good. You know, we were having some fires last week, but it seems like things have come down a little bit. Or at least they haven't got worse, and I'm feeling pretty good. I was sick like a month ago, but I feel well, so that's good.
This when we put our flyer out about you, I was very pleasantly surprised of how many people know you. Many people follow you on Facebook. You do a fantastic job. Most of your fans, people call me, texting me, and saying very nice things about you. So it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. At least be one of those ones associated with your positive work to our community. So before we go, obviously we're talking about COVID-19. It's affected everybody, not just you, and I'm happy that you're feeling okay here in the country, around the world. It's affecting people really badly. It's transforming businesses, it's transforming families. So let's begin from you as a person and as a family. How are you dealing with COVID-19 so far?
I mean, you know, it's hard, and that's one thing that was scary when all these started. And you know, because I work in a rural clinic, so we didn't see this for a while. We were just, you know, hearing it in the news and all these things. I was following it, and but we were hit, you know, finally. Like we were getting a lot of patients, and you know, I'm at the clinic seeing people. People coming in to get tested or to be screened and all that. So we are dealing with it, you know, right in the middle of it, because we see patients. And that's one big way that you can get exposed, because you are dealing with people that are sick. But, you know, trying to stay healthy as much as possible, try to prevent, you know, contracting COVID is something that I have been trying to do. And as I said, I did get sick, but that doesn't mean that, you know, now I became, you know, careless. and stop doing that. Still follow all the precautions, and coming home, try to keep the family safe, and healthy. But it's becoming part of us. I think that initially we were all like, what's going on, and it's all scary. But I think that once it hit home, now I'm like, okay, just learn to live with it, do the best we can do so we can just keep thriving despite this challenge.
So as we relax into the conversation, so how is it overall here in Minneapolis? It's not as it's still hitting people very hard. We've even lost members of our community, and I know the people watching from home might not know they don't know that California is very far away. It's 1 or 2 here. It should be 11 or 2 in California, right?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m.
Can you imagine? So it's 1 here, it is 2 in the East Coast, and it's 9 or 2 in Kenya. So interesting differences. So
Yes.
let's go to the doctor's office and have a conversation. People are really waiting. They want to live a healthy living, including myself. So today I want to be your patient. Let's start with the first question about nutrition, right?
Yes.
And knowing that people watching you across the country and people watching in Kenya, we're talking about nutrition, that it's very important for us to pay attention to what nutrition is. Could you very kindly and briefly summarize for us the role of diet and nutritional supplements during this COVID-19 and what are they? Some of us, we don't even understand what is diet or whatever that is. So do you mind summarizing what that is for our viewers?
Sure. So, obviously nutrition is a big thing because, a lot of us here, people say you are what you eat. We want to keep our body as healthy as possible. And especially during COVID, we want to make sure that we are healthy. And one big thing we can do is influence what we are eating. And we know we have 3 major food groups, 4 rather. We have carbohydrates, protein, vitamins, and the minerals. And you want to make sure that you are eating food from all those food groups. But also, not only that, you want to make sure that you're eating the healthy kind of foods because, not everything we eat is actually healthy for us. So you want to make sure that you're eating the healthy kind of foods to really maximize your health. And I'm just going to touch on those four food groups. So when it comes to your carbohydrates, which is your starch, you want to eat complex carbohydrates, and you get complex carbohydrates from things like, like rice, wheat, what are the grains, mostly grains, and things like yams, cassava, things like that. So what you want to do is to eat whole grains. So think of all the grains we have and how much, processed stuff we have, all that white rice, all that white flour, and, even at home, white flour for ugali that is shifted. You really want to avoid those kinds because those are really not healthy for you because, of course, some nutrients have been taken out to process those, to refine them. So you want to stay as whole as possible. So your brown rice, a lot of people complain they don't like it, but you want to find a kind that is good. Like I had to try multiple ones and find basmati brown rice is pretty good. So you want to try, and it's not only rice. If rice is not your thing, you don't have to eat it. There are other grains. There's millet, there's quinoa, for at home. There's cassava, there's your potatoes. So there's other sources of starch that you can get, but you want to eat natural as possible. So try to stay away from those refined carbohydrates as much as possible. But also let me talk about sugar while we are on that. So you want to stay away from refined sugars as much as possible, and we get this from obviously the sugar that we add to our tea, our uji porridge. Also the sugary stuff that we eat, the processed cookies and cakes and candies, all that kind of stuff that has concentrated sugars. You want to stay away from that and eat the natural sugars. So even like the complex carbohydrates, which don't taste sugary, they actually have sugar. So those are the kinds that you want to eat, and that will help to actually stabilize your sugar in the body so it doesn't go through the spikes. let me talk about protein next. So your major sources of protein, a lot of people think that your meat, your animal food are your major sources of protein, but actually that is not, it's not true. You find protein in a lot of foods. Even the grains I talked about have protein as well. So you want to eat, a variety of protein sources. And what I don't want people to do is to depend on animal food for their protein, eating a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, milk, cheese, things like that. So you want to include a plant protein as well, which is actually really good. And other things you can use is like beans, lentils, dengu for home. And as I said, your whole grains have protein as well. Even vegetables have protein. So what you want to have is a variety. And personally, I will say here on live TV that I'm plant-based. I don't eat any animal foods, but I don't impose that on anybody. What I do recommend that you do, though, is to minimize the amount of animal food that you're eating, because animal food have they're not essentially as healthy as we think, especially when we eat them in large amounts. As we know, the American diet, I know there are people watching that are from all over the world, but I think that not just America, but it's becoming popular all over the world. People eat a lot of meat. Like our food is mostly meat and anything else, right? So you want to be careful with that. So when you eat meat, you want to eat the clean kind of meat, or you can say mostly people recommend lean meats, like chicken or fish, and you want to eat the size of a deck of cards or the size of your palm. So the palm, I don't know which way to go so you can see that small size. That's how much you need, or like 2 or 3 ounces, whichever way you want to measure it. But basically it's like 2 or 3 pieces of meat, so that's really the healthy size of meat that you want to eat, not a full plate. Or somebody just eating like a whole container of chicken or meat, whatever, that is really not healthy. So you want to minimize, and you don't want to eat meat every day. You want to eat maybe like twice a week and just a small piece. So you can have the other variety of foods. You can have your beans, you can have your lentils also. And if you are eating like eggs, like not to be eating eggs every day. I would recommend maybe like 2 eggs a week, and things like cheese. I don't think like cheese is such a big thing in some other places of the world like it is in America. I mean, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think that it's a big deal in America, cheese. I don't know about Kenyan people, maybe not as much, but generally in America, cheese is a big thing, and also milk and milk products. So you want to really minimize how much of that. I will say you want to do 80% of your food from plants. So whole plant diet. And what I mean by whole, as I said, you want to stay away from refined foods. So when you go shopping around, the store, look at the foods that are around the store, on your produce, on your fresh produce, buy, your food there. So you're not like mostly in the middle of the aisle where they have a lot of the processed stuff. Also, don't forget your nuts. Nuts provide protein as well. So a handful of nuts a day. You don't need to eat a lot of that because of the fat that they have as well. When it comes to vitamins, you want to make sure to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables. So your colored vegetables tend to be more nutritious, have more nutrients. So you want to stay more dark color, the ones that are that have dark colors, not the more like pale white looking. But a variety is good for you. So you want to eat a variety of vegetables and fruit every day. And what I would say is about 2 fruits a day and about 3 servings of vegetables a day is good. It's pretty good for a healthy diet. And then your minerals, those you get as you eat just a balanced diet, you'll get your minerals. So when it comes to supplements, you won't have to worry so much about supplements, if you're eating a healthy diet. But something that I did, especially when I got sick, I did use vitamin C supplements that I was taking while I was sick. But generally you do get your vitamin C by just eating a variety of vegetable and fruit. So you really want to make sure that you are you're doing that. And if you take a supplement, that's fine. Another vitamin I would like to talk about is vitamin D. Vitamin D is a very important vitamin. In fact, it's been studied and it acts more like a hormone. It's very important. But unfortunately, most of my patients that I see and check, they're deficient. I think maybe because we stay inside a lot, or people just work inside the offices a lot, so most people are deficient. So that's one thing I'll say to be very careful with. 15 minutes of sunlight, 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight every day will keep your vitamin D, because vitamin D is important for absorption of calcium, which is what builds your bones, so you have strong bones. So that is something I've had personally to supplement because I was deficient, so I do take vitamin D supplement. You want to be careful with the sun. If you're going outside to, for sunlight as your vitamin D source, which is actually our main source of vitamin D, is the sun. So if you're going outside, you have to wear sunscreen because the sun, especially the summer sun from 10 a.m. to like 3 p.m. is very damaging to your skin. So you want to make sure that you put on sunscreen if you're going outside, and you don't, as I said, 15 to 30 minutes is how much you want to be outside.
So, and I get it, Dr. Kaniaru, what you're saying then that affects all age groups, right? Children, teenagers. That's correct, right? Okay. But do me a favor, Dr. Kaniaru. You want to pull your computer slightly towards you? Just slightly. One more. Yes. Cool. That way the entire world will see that you're serious. You're in your office with that telescope.
I have a telescope.
Pretty good. And also acknowledge the fact that this live streaming is brought to you courtesy of Hennepin County here in Minneapolis. And for our viewers, if you want more questions, you can reach them out at that number, 612-348-3000. So that's okay. So Dr. Kaniaru, thank you for the nutritional aspect of it. Let's also talk about exercise. And I know most people, including myself, I tell you this, since April, I've pretty much been sitting at home, sitting on the computer and eat good, yes, but I hardly exercise. Right, and most people who migrated here, pretty much we are that moment where we would go practice, run around, but here people are very busy, sit on their couch and sleep. Why is it important that during this time we should really exercise more regularly?
Right. I mean, it's important, and I always talk about this, whatever I'm talking about, like health. So you want to make sure that you are active, because the body, I mean, it was meant to be like that, to be active. That's how you continue to stay. You continue to stay healthy by being active. And honestly, it was important before, but even now, it's very important that we stay active. And ways we can do that, and you don't have, I mean, the gyms were closed, due to Corona. So some of the things we can do is simply just get out and walk, and recommend about 30 minutes of exercise for 5 days a week is the recommended exercise. And when you walk, you brisk walk, you walk fast enough where your heart rate gets increased. And if you can get out, there are other ways also you can do that. If you have kids you have to watch, you can have other ways to do this. You can do some push-ups, you can do you can jump rope. I have a friend who jumps rope every day, and I've been following her, and she's doing very well. These are exercises that you can do. But also just around the house, just make sure that you're moving around the house, and you're not just sitting there, because it's really very important. Exercise is not only good for to strengthen your heart, strengthen your muscle, but it's also good for your mental health. It's good for to decrease anxiety, to decrease stress, to also make you think clearly. So you want to make sure that you are active. So in this time, as I mentioned before, that more than before, like during COVID, we really have to make sure that we stay healthy, the whole family stays healthy, get everybody out, go walking, let the kids run around, in the backyard or wherever that they need to do, so that we all stay healthy. And also to help with managing the weight, because weight is a very important risk factor for coronavirus. So people that are overweight or obese seem to be affected more, with coronavirus or get more severe disease. So you want to make sure that your weight is managed, and just sitting around the house is really going to contribute to gaining weight and contributing to anxiety and just a lot of health issues.
So, and I get it. Some people say you just need to exercise just in the morning and you're done. Is that good medical advice, or you should exercise as regularly as possible?
Exercise, that's pretty good, because you're starting your day, you start fresh, but you can do exercise any time of the day. You want to make sure, obviously, don't eat a heavy meal and then go exercising, because you need your blood. Most of your blood is going to go to to your digestive system once you eat. So you want to make sure that you give yourself some time, before you go exercise. But you can exercise any time of the day. But of course, not too late, before you go to bed as well. So you want to give yourself a few hours as well before bed. But any time is good.
On the same note, in my household, we have this. I'm not sure what is the correct response to this, but you're the doctor. You might advise me. When should we take heavy meal? Is it in the morning? Is it lunch hour? Or is it dinner?
I always said, in the morning, I see a lot of other different views out there. But I would say, I think the problem with having a heavy meal in the evening, which is mostly what we do, is the fact that we're going to bed. So that becomes a problem, because then you're not going to use all that energy. You don't need all that food. So it's going to be stored. So that's why you hear a lot of recommendation to eat your heavy meal in the morning. And what I can actually say is make sure that you're eating 3 healthy meals a day. Eat your breakfast, actually have a good breakfast, have lunch, and have your evening meal. And then just in between, drink water. I mean, it's going to be different for kids, obviously, because they eat more, they use more energy and stuff. But for adults and for bigger kids, just 3 meals a day, just drink water in between, but make sure that you eat. I think the problem is because people just don't sit down to have an actual meal, so they're snacking throughout the day. You don't give your body, your digestive system, time to rest, because that's basically what it does. So your digestion takes about 3 to 5 hours. Your body is supposed to rest in between and before it starts the process again. So just by eating throughout the day, we're just keeping the body, your digestive system, busy all through the day, and there's no time for rest. And then that heavy night meal as well, it's not really very good before sleep. And just trying to, for that night meal, to eat a few hours before bedtime, not, like too late into the night and just straight going to bed.
So you talk about water. Let's focus on water. I don't know how to pronounce that. The kids here tell me it's water, but by my Kisi accent tells me it's water. So let's talk for a moment about water, right? For our viewers, it's I'm talking about this water, whatever that is, or this water, right? So why is it important that we really drink a lot or plenty of water during the day? And there's also some misconceptions that have come about that somehow coronavirus could be in water, and also some people discouraging others from going swimming, saying if you go swimming, probably you might easily get infected with coronavirus. Why is that important, Dr. Kaniaru?
Obviously, water is very important, because our body is 70% water. So you want to make sure that you keep that, you keep your body hydrated. And in fact, if you wait to the time you're feeling thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So your water requirement actually depends on your weight. So you hear this, blanket statement of like, drink 6 to 8 glasses of water. But that is, it's general and is a good place to start. But your water requirement depends on your weight. So I know we have people from Kenya and other places, but if I use the American, your weight in pounds, let's say if you're 150 pounds, so your water requirement is half your weight in pounds, so 75 in ounces. So you need 75 ounces of water in a day. That's going to be, I'll show you guys my bottle. I use this bottle. This bottle might be about maybe 16 ounces. You know, you might need maybe five of this. So that's how to determine how much water you need. And 6 to 8 glasses, that's fine. But bigger people, I mean, the more weight you have, the more water you need, and your body cells need water to function. All your body functions, you know, need water. So to avoid stressing your body so it can do function, you need to give it, you need to keep your cells healthy and keep your cells well hydrated. So that's why it's important to drink water. And if you're going to the bathroom and you see your pee is looking yellowish orange, you are not well hydrated. So you have to make sure to drink water, and to drink water throughout the day. In fact, the way that I do it is, after my breakfast, I usually have warm water in my bottle. I actually drink warm water almost all day. So I have my warm water. So after breakfast, I go to work. Like 30 minutes later, I drink my water, you know, almost that full bottle, maybe half, whatever. Make sure that I finish it by lunch, the one bottle, and then I fill another one, because I'm lightweight, so I don't need that much water. But at the end of the day, I make sure that I drink my, the ounces per my weight. So that's what you want to do. You don't want to wait until you come home. Some people don't drink water all day. You come home and in the evening, that's when you're drinking. You drink maybe 2-3 glasses. That's not enough water. So in between, I would say drink water after breakfast, drink water after lunch, in between drink water, and after dinner maybe take another glass or something, just to keep yourself hydrated through the day. So when it comes to COVID, living in water, in fact, I was just looking, there hasn't been really studies that have shown that coronavirus lives in water. And also with the swimming pool thing, I think the main issue is the crowds. People going. I think that's why recreational places are closed, is because of just the crowds that are there. It's not the water itself, because it hasn't been shown that coronavirus lives in water. But obviously, you're transmitting coronavirus through talking. It's droplets, right? You're talking. Sometimes you don't even realize that's actually how easy it is. You don't realize there's drops coming out of your mouth as you speak. Of course, if you're singing even more, you're gonna have more droplets going out by contact, sneezing and coughing and stuff like that. That's really what's transmitting coronavirus, or contact. If you're in contact with somebody who has coronavirus, then that's a major way to get it.
Again, I have to acknowledge, thank you for such an insightful contribution. I want to make sure that I acknowledge our sponsors, Hennepin County. They're sponsoring this. For those who are living within the Twin Cities area here in Minnesota, please, you feel free to contact them for more information on their number there, 612-348-3000. So, Dr. Kaniaru, let's move to another subject. Interesting conversation. Some people say, you stay too much at home, it's risky. But if you go outside and you have some good sunlight, the sunlight can kill coronavirus. So is that true, or that is a misconception that people are really throwing around here?
I would say that was initially, we thought that, with the sun coming up, especially in America now, we were having summer, but that really didn't seem to affect coronavirus at all. I mean, obviously, temperatures, let's see if it was on a surface, if coronavirus was on a surface, that can be, the sun can really damage it, and it can die off quickly on the surface. But if you had coronavirus in your body, if you go outside and expose yourself to the sun, it's really not going to die. And so people need to be careful. Again, don't go getting sunburn and stuff outside thinking that it's actually going to kill the coronavirus. It's not going to. It's not a proven way. It's different when you're talking about like high, intensity UV lights aimed at the virus. But we're talking about, yourself going outside to expose yourself to the sun. That's true.
Okay. So thank you. Good insight. By the way, I'm also learning here. It's good to be in the doctor's office so that I learn a lot and try to take care of myself. And those ones watching, obviously, they're paying attention to that. So you just talked about water. And some people are texting me, are telling me, Dr. Jeremiah, what do you exactly mean by water? Do you mean the water, this water, or do you mean that other one?
I mean, other water. I mean, water.
Essentially what they're saying, as human beings have some passions. There are people who love, for example, people like having a lot of soda. You talk about sugar. There are people who say, no, look, I don't see how I can survive in a day without enjoying my bottle of beer or champagne or wine, whatever that is. Let's talk about temperance here. How important is it that we really be conscious about habits that sometimes we are too much addicted to? Maybe it's alcohol or anything like that.
Sure. I mean, as I said, really, when it comes to health, nothing has changed much, right? So we still have to follow the same health, advices, right? So not drinking excessive alcohol, not smoking. Smoking is not good for you. Even one puff, even just being in the presence of smoke coming from a cigarette is harmful to you. So that is, that's not a question. You should not smoke at all. But when it comes to drinking, and I would put this aside because as a Christian, I'm like, that's not a question. But I would just say, for the purpose of everybody, that when it comes to drinking one beer, so one drink, so there's in medical terms, there's what we call one drink. So when one drink for a beer is 12 ounces, and I don't know how I would say that. It's like a glass, right? So for beer, a glass is considered one drink. For wine, it's about 5 ounces is considered, one drink. Hard liquor, whiskey and stuff, it's like 1.5 ounces. It's considered one drink. So for men, health-wise, it is considered that having 2 drinks a day is okay. And for women, maybe 1 is okay. And that is as much. Right now, you realize like 1 glass. But if it's wine, even less. Or if it's hard liquor, it's even less. So if you don't have any other medical conditions that are contraindicated, because your medical condition you can be told not to drink because of your medical condition, right? You can't drink at all because now you have a medical condition. But for others, if you are healthy, I would say just staying with 1 drink is probably okay. But guess what? Actually, alcohol dehydrates people. What does that mean? So you lose water when you drink alcohol. So you see people drink beer and they're using the bathroom a lot. So that means then you have to even stay up with your hydration more because you are losing your water. So beer is not really going to give you hydration. It's actually going to take your water away. So that's not a good way to get water.
But it's the doctor talking. So for our viewers, I know some guys are texting me, hey, what do you mean? That's the best way I can reduce my stress. I need 1 or 2 for the road to keep me going. But I think in all seriousness, we are saying this is a very difficult time, these uncertain times. It's very important that we take care of ourselves, particularly if you have to lower the amount of drinks that you have per day or at least a week. That would be reasonable so that we have you around. I think that's to our viewers. So let's move to another subtopic here, Dr. Kaniaru. Let's talk about hair. Some people say you got to be very careful with the air conditioning in your home. And some say if you have the air conditioning, that can also be problematic. Do you want to speak to that as well?
Yeah, and I was looking to see if there was anything that shows that air conditioning can transmit coronavirus, but I have not seen. Air conditioning is not believed to transmit coronavirus, but the fact that people are staying inside, then that is a reason to get coronavirus or to transmit coronavirus because it's hot and people are staying inside, but just air conditioning by itself is not a known way to transmit coronavirus.
Here's what I want to do, Dr. Kaniaru. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back. We're going to have further questions. If you don't mind taking a quick break here.
Mchungaji mpenzi, hukuita uje katika zizi lake panapo salama, akina wanawake waume vijana, Yesu aliye kweli huwaita kwake. huita kwa moyo wa huruma, uliyepotea uje kwangu, hivi kukungoja anadumu, Bwana Yesu mchunga. Akatoa maisha kwa ajili yetu, ataka wapotevu waje kwake sasa, tusijihatarishe, kwake tu salama. Sikia wito wake, mchungaji wetu, huita kwa moyo wa huruma, uliyepotea uje kwangu, hivi kukungoja anadumu, Bwana Yesu mchunga. Tusikawie tena adui shetani, kama mbwa wa mwitu atatuharibu. Tunaitwa na Yesu mkombozi wetu, tuingie zizini panapo nafasi, huita kwa moyo wa huruma, uliyepotea uje kwangu, hivi kukungoja anadumu, Bwana Yesu mchunga. Huita kwa moyo wa huruma, uliyepotea uje kwangu, hivi kukungoja anadumu, Bwana Yesu mchunga.
That was a good one.
So I mean, I don't wanna disappoint people here. Trust me, many people are texting. What is that number? What is the number, Dr. Jeremiah? What is the number? Please put this case to rest. Talk about your brother.
Which my brother, the one that I was singing with?
Yes, put that case to rest right now, so that I don't receive text messages yet.
Oh, that's Mr. Kaniaru. That's my husband. Oh, that was good. That's funny.
So I'm so happy you put that. I think, Mr. Kaniaru, thank you so much, because people are texting me, say, "Hey, Dr. Jeremiah, can I have a number? Who is that?" So, Mr. The case is rested. No, I'm not going to give anybody your number. So the chemistry is very evident, and I'm sure in the prior segment we are talking about these things about marriages and the stress that comes with it. Yeah, and I think there are couples right now who cannot stand one another completely. They don't want to see each other's faces, not at home, not even on Facebook, not anywhere in the social media. How do you two get along, and you really match very well? Share the secret to our viewers.
You know, it's interesting because actually James stays at home. So I work, James works from home, and he stays at home with the kids now, especially with coronavirus. Making sure that they get their homework done. The kids just went back to virtual learning last week. But he's been staying home for 7 years now because, to me, having the kids at home was more important. And when I was in medical school, that's when I had my first child. And I just couldn't. I couldn't take her to daycare. So at that point, I'm a student, and James was working. He was a nurse at the time, LVN nurse. So I just told him, I said, you have to do something. I'm going to quit school or something. So anyway, he's been staying home, taking care of them. So I think that he has been so involved. He got into cooking, to cleaning. I mean, he had to do everything because now he was left with the child. He had to take care of them, and I'm at work. I come home late and everything. So he got used to doing that. And I'm not saying it was easy because, as a woman, there's ways that you want to do your stuff. There's particular ways that you want to do, but I realized I can't be too picky because, you start fighting over small things. And I realized, I said, you know what? He had to quit his job to stay at home. I can't put him through so much stress because of my little particulars. So learning to accept each other, knowing that you're doing the best for each other, and just that you're working together, not against each other, because sometimes it can come out like that, but just working together for the good of you, for the good of the family, and resolving those issues, because obviously issues come up, but the communication is key. In fact, I feel like among the top things is making sure that you have effective communication, not like labeling each other and yelling and screaming at each other, but having an effective way to communicate. And try not to speak when you're angry, because you are really going to escalate things. Walk away, go take a walk, take that walk and come back, and then you can be able to solve things. But obviously praying together and believing in God. We sing together, and that's something that brings us together a lot of times. So finding things that you do together, and we pray together, and just work through our issues. It's not easy, but it's doable.
Appreciate you, and I think this is part of the conversation that we are having. We have to face the facts as are. It's a different country. There is a change of roles. The fact that you guys, he is working. The fact that he's investing in the children. To me, quite frankly, that's far more important than this kind of jobs that we do on a daily basis. Because the key point, that's your future, that's our future. So we really need to salute him. And let me point also to another fact for our viewers to understand in this country. Evidence is suggesting that more women are becoming more socially and economically better positioned than men. That's just a fact. Quite frankly, over 59% of college graduates nowadays in this country are women. Those ones with bachelor degrees, 54, I think almost 60%. So clearly over the next decade, what we're going to experience is that more women are going to be in the workplace and therefore better placed economically. And I think if that economic argument comes to the family, then problems are going to be in the family. May I also point to your point, Dr. Kaniaru, that in this country, there are 2.3 million stay-at-home dads. So it's not just Mr. Kaniaru. 2.3 million stay-at-home dads. They are home not because they can't work, but because there's a need to invest in the children. So, and I think that's a good message for our community to realize that changing roles, that either man or woman have a responsibility to play in really developing a good family. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that will go a long way in helping change the mindset of people sometimes, which is a bit close, with all due respect. So let's move a little bit further and talk about two topical issues before we finish the discussion here. Talk to us about rest.
All right.
So it's
very, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead. Talk about rest. Why is it important?
It's very, very important to get rest. In fact, one of the things that I realized not long ago, that not sleeping well is a risk factor for diabetes, sugar problems. So, and we realize, especially in this country where people are working 24 hours, and a lot of us being in the medical field, we work night shift, we come home, we get, 3-4 hours of sleep, and we run back to work, and we are busy at home, doing all kinds of stuff, and going back to work. It's actually a major health risk, not getting rest. You need rest to rejuvenate and to rest your brain, to clean up your brain so you can think better and clearly. So you need that rest for your body to rest and rejuvenate. And if you just keep going and not getting rest, in fact, you're putting your body at risk of getting disease. So it's recommended for adults to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. and for kids about 10 hours. I mean, if they're under 10, about 10 hours, 9-10 hours a night, they need to get that sleep. And also try to sleep early. I really believe that, and even from my experience and just reading, that sleeping earlier is actually a good thing. If you can go to bed 9-10 p.m., it's better for you than going to bed after midnight. You get better sleep before midnight. So going to bed early and getting your 7-8 hours of sleep is good. Myself, about 7 hours of sleep, that's when I really feel well. So you want to make sure you do that. Go to bed about the same time, every day, and even during the weekend, try to do the same thing. So you have that schedule that, okay, this is my time to go to bed, and you go to bed. And that will really promote a healthy body.
Dr. Kaniaru, those ones who are watching and they're saying, look, man, time is money. I came to America. I want to put a lot of hours at work. I want to make a lot of money. I want to send money to Kenya or Africa to support family members. I want to invest back at home. And they're putting double and sometimes triple hours. How do you change their mindset, with all due respect?
The sleep you got yesterday will not cover for today that you didn't sleep. And putting your body through that stress, it does damage your body. So you really don't want to do that. Maybe once or twice, occasionally, if you do that. But if you make it a habit that your body is always running on no sleep, and sleep is not just for your body to stay healthy, but in your mind, in your thinking. Sometimes you'll be driving. People who are sleepy are even more dangerous than people who are drunk, on the road. So you really don't want to be doing this. You want to stay healthy. And, I am proponent to supporting people at home, but we really want to know our limits, because I think that some of us, because of just the way that we've made our people at home believe, that we put ourselves in situations, where we have to, keep giving money and keep taxing ourselves to be able to do things at home. And I think we have to live within our means and stay healthy, because you want to live long, healthy life for yourself, for your family, and for other people. But it has to be you first, because you can do for other people things if you are taxing yourself and essentially making yourself unhealthy. So I say you first, take care of yourself, and do what you can do. Do not do more than you can handle.
I think that's an important point. I think in the discussion prior, the people talking about this, people don't even realize what self really means. I think when you're born, you're just born alone, and when you go, you just go alone. And I think that's very important for people to realize. But it's very hard, especially when we're talking about the African socialism, meaning that if your brother and sister somewhere is not okay, you're going to sacrifice. The point is, if things go south, you just go alone. You don't go with anybody. So it's important that we take care of that. So let's move to the second last question for you. I know you're tired. You need to spend the rest of the day with the family. Let's talk about laughter and humor. So you did notice you and Mr. Kaniaru having very good laughter there. And what I realized in the last few days, anytime I watch TV, I always see these numbers going up 100,000, 170, and I really get depressed. Then I start worrying maybe I could be next. And then a friend of mine told me, no, look, turn off the TV, have humor, have fun, laugh, enjoy. That's the soul of, that's the food of your soul. How important is it that we also use humor and laughter as a way of coping with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Right. I mean, we want to make these, as I said, it's becoming part of us, and we have, to live with this and live the best we can. So becoming stressed out, putting our bodies through stress is actually putting ourselves at risk then of contracting, COVID-19. So what I say, we have to, try to be as joyful, as happy as we can, laugh. Laugh is good medicine. That is actually a true thing. So laugh, keep your body healthy, reduce that stress, and do what what it's in your position to do. Because if you stress about it, I mean, then in fact you're not doing something about it. You are even putting yourself at risk or taking away from what you can do. So just focusing on what we can do, having a good laugh, just making the most out of it and not focusing so much on what we have no control. I think that's what we need to do.
So let's focus on the last question, Kaniaru, and talk about the belief in beyond the skies, looking up to the skies for God's guidance. I know most people probably don't take this, and I think if you listen to the conversation I had before, Mweni Muli was talking about the fact that she believes in God. That even before she goes to the courtroom, she has to kneel down and say a prayer to God for guidance in all that she does, and obviously thankful, which we should all be. And I know that's something that you're very passionate about. Do you mind talking to our viewers? And I'm going to ask the cameraman to take me off so that you talk to us about why is it important that we also remember God during these times.
Right. So, God is always a part of us. I know there are people out there that we have different kinds of people. There are people that believe in God. There are people that don't believe in God. But truly, truly, I know that a lot of us have questions in life. There are many things that we don't have control of. There are many things that we look out for, divine power. And for us, we know that divine power is God. And so looking up to God and praying and praying for guidance, for protection, praying to be safe and praying to be able to do all we can do during this time to stay healthy. I think it's something that we have to do. And this is not just for COVID, but throughout our life, each and every day we realize how fragile life is. We just don't know what happens when we go out. People, we take life for granted because we are alive and we think that, or you're young or whatever, and you think nothing is going to happen to you, you're rich and all these things. But life is very fragile, and we have to make sure that we live, we live fully and we live trusting in God. And that's something I do every day. I pray to God every day to protect me, to guide me, and we pray for the vaccine or the medication to be found, for God to guide our leaders, to the scientists, so we can find medicine, and so that life can start to get back to normal. So that is really something that I advocate for all of us to be able to do, and to reflect on our God every day so we can get through this.
To the end of it. Before that, again, I want to thank our sponsors, Hennepin County, for sponsoring this. I think for those ones, again, in Minnesota, who want to reach out for any kind of help, feel free to reach out to their number. Is right there, 612-348-3000. Again, that's Hennepin County. I don't know on to see that as well. So again, Dr. Kaniaru, you have no idea how much I'm so thankful and appreciative. And there is the link, Hennepin, HNNEPIN.US/COVID-19. That's where you can reach Hennepin County if you need any kind of assistance during this COVID-19. And again, that's more particular for those ones living in the state of Minnesota. And I think you can also reach out to other states wherever you are located. Again, to you, Dr. Kaniaru, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I'm a great follower of yours on Facebook. I appreciate all you do for the community. Great work. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. So I'm going to give you one last minute to say your closing statement to our viewers, both here in the US and those ones in Africa.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Okari, for inviting me, and I'm so grateful to be here. I wanted to say, I think that I always talk about diet. It's one of the really big things I talk about, and I think that's something that we really struggle with a lot. And I wanted to say that, we really want to make sure that at the end of the day, wherever we are doing, that we manage our weight as well. Because as I said, being overweight, being obese is one of those big risk factors when it comes to getting serious coronavirus disease. So you want to make sure that you stay in healthy weight. And if you follow the things that we have talked about, keep your body healthy, eating healthy, trying to eat all, mostly plants, whole plants, and staying away from all those sugary, fatty foods. processed meats, that's something I wanted to mention as well, like hamburgers and hot dogs and all those are actually not healthy for you. So you want to eat more fresh. If you can, organic, at home it's not such a big deal because most people eat organic. But over here, especially when it comes to animal foods, you want to eat clean. And I can't say, when I talk about clean, I can't talk about all of it here, but in the Bible, Leviticus chapter 11 talks about clean animals to eat. So when you eat animal foods, try to follow those, because people are eating pork and stuff, and that's actually one of the unclean animals that we should not be eating, and we are eating that. So following those things, not just for COVID, but going forward, making sure that you're eating healthy animal-based foods. When you eat them, and eating them sparingly, but you want to get most of your nutrition from plants. I can't say that enough. You want fresh plants. And if you want something sweet, instead of reaching out for, a soda or like a candy or a cake or something sweet, reach for a fruit. Because sugar, actually, our body does not do well with sugar. All the concentrated sugar decrease your immune system, function. So you're putting yourself at risk for disease as well by consuming all those sugars. So just, and drinking your water and resting and all the things that we talked about, those are really important things, not just for coronavirus, but going forward to keep ourselves healthy, to keep our bodies in healthy weight so we can continue to experience, good health beyond coronavirus, to be able to live long and long healthy lives. That is something that we really have to consider. And if you want me to speak about this another time, we can do that, but I'm very passionate about these things. And in fact, looking forward to get licensed. It's a board certification, as I do family medicine, but I'm wanting to get certification for lifestyle medicine, and that majorly focuses on reversing diseases like heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure, depression, things like that, and they're majorly through diet. I mean, there are American doctors who now, what they do, they take patients, and they put them in an institution where they just feed them plant foods, they have them exercise, they have them get rest, all the things kind of I talked about, and they're able to reverse their disease. So I mean, there is a thing as let food be your medicine. There's such a thing. So we want to make sure that the food we eat is it's medicine to our bodies, and not damaging our bodies.
So, Dr. Kaniaru, if we end the show without asking you one particular question, I think it would be very unfair to a segment of our population. There are a lot of young girls who are watching you, and they cannot believe there is a young, very smart doctor. I'm going to ask Ben, the camera guy, to take me off the camera, and I want you to speak directly. I know within our community we have a huge population of our people in the nursing industry, a lot of nurses, and I want to take an opportunity to welcome all nurses across the country. If you want to come in and contribute, please do so. This is a platform for you. There are so many medical doctors within the community. If you want to come on the show and you want to help the community in whichever way you can, we are here to partner with you. So before I finish, Dr. Kaniaru, do you want to speak directly to young women who are aspiring to be doctors? Is it possible? How did you make it to that position? Because I think that's important for us to help motivate many more to come.
Sure. So I came from Kenya when I was 19. It was after high school. And I remember, at home, you apply to universities and after you finish your Form 4. And I remember I got admitted to Moi University to study nursing. I had applied for medicine, but I didn't qualify. So I had, got admitted to do nursing. And I just went to Moi University for maybe a month. And at that time I had applied for, green card, and thank God I came with the green card. And I remember when I got the green card saying, thank God I'm able to go to America, because my uncle was here already. So I said, I'm going to go to America, and I will be able to study medicine. And I came, And of course, it was not easy because I got challenges. You know, I was told that everybody who comes here, you know, the easiest way to make it is to go into nursing because it's, you know, it's a good career. There's a lot of Kenyans in it. And I remember thinking to myself, but, you know, this is what I want to do. I wanted to become a doctor. So, and I went to school, you know, through undergraduate, I applied to medical school. As challenging as it was, and everybody, I mean, a lot of people thought I was crazy. They said, you know, how do you think you are going to, you know, to actually make it to medical school? But I did, and in fact, I graduated in May. The same year I graduated, I went to medical school in August. And I just want to say that do not give up on your dream. If there's something that you really want to do, that you pursue it. And America is the best place, I'll say, to pursue your dreams because, you know, there's such a thing as an American dream. And I'm grateful that I'm actually living my dream of, you know, wanting to be a doctor since I was young, and I'm actually able to do that. So that is really fulfilling, and it's amazing. And you can do it, no matter how challenging it can be. Sometimes it may not be direct. You know, you may get some detours. You might have to wait for a little bit, but do not kill your dream because you will be able to achieve it if you continue pushing and looking for more opportunities. Reach out to people. In fact, you know, reaching out to people is the best thing. I'll say that one of the reasons I applied to the school that admitted me is because I was told about somebody else about the school. So then I applied to the school. So reach out to people, talk to people that who have been, you know, through the same, you know, same process that you want to go through, so they can guide you, and you be sure that you will get to where you want to go.
Dr. Kaniaru, in a moment, gender sensitive. We're also talking about the boy child as being left behind. Do you have a comment for the boys who also boys, young men who are aspiring to be doctors? You want to say something quick before you respond to that question, if you could, please.
I mean, and you know, I've seen a lot of this, especially at home, that, you know, there's a lot of support. I guess because initially there was a lot of support for the boys, and now boys feel like, you know, they're being left out because there's a lot of support for girls. But you know what? We are supporting all, you know, all of our young ones. We encourage you to reach out to any one of us because, you know, all of us, essentially, you know, in this age, like anything a man can do, it seems like a woman can do. We can all do it. You know, it doesn't change us who we are. You know, we are all similar before the eyes of God. I mean, we have similar. There's a difference. I don't want to say that women and men are essentially the same. That's not what I am saying. But I'm saying that people that are passionate, I want to do something. Men that men have been known to do. Even women who are really passionate and want to do the same things can do. So men, it's okay. Let's all get in and do what we need to do. Encourage each other. Reach out to the woman. Don't feel like, you know, intimidated because, you know, because we are all doing it and we are all being empowered. So just reach out and keep working towards your dreams, and we will all, you know, succeed together.
If you don't mind, I'm sure we are beyond time, but if you don't mind, respond to one or two questions from the audience.
Discourages 3 meals, even 2 is a lot. What's your comment? You know what? I haven't seen the 2 meals. Well, I mean, the science discouraging 3 meals, because I know that, you know, in between the meals, like digestion takes about 5 hours. I'll say about 5 hours. And if you look at through the day, I think it's reasonable. 3 meals is very reasonable. I think that a lot of the studies that are coming out are ways to combat obesity and overweight, because it's not just an American problem. Actually, it's becoming a world problem. So I think that some of this is coming from that, and we're trying to see how can we make people you know, lose weight. How can we encourage people to maintain healthy weight? And I can say that, you know, to me, if you eat a plant-based diet, a simple plant-based diet, 3 times a day, drink water in between, you will not go wrong. Because, I mean, as I said, when you look at the plant foods that you eat, if you measure like quantity per quantity with the animal foods, you are going to get more calories, or processed foods, you are going to get more calories on the side of animal and processed food than on the side of plant foods. So if you are doing your meals mostly plants and 3 times a day, I don't think that you need to be worried. And people that, if you're fasting, you can fast. I'm not against fasting, but if you want to fast once a week for prayer, I'm actually proponent for that. If you're fasting for prayer, you can do it. You can do it for your body too. I think that I have seen people that fast a day a week, and it's really good for them. It makes sense to me. Like maybe you just drink juices or some type of cleansing just to make, clean up your body and then start over again. I think that is something really good, but I'm not for eating once a day or minimizing. I mean, twice a day makes sense to me if you have like late breakfast and maybe late lunch, and then you don't eat anything for dinner, then that in evening, then that's fine. But for generally people, you wake up in the morning, you need to be out to work by 7, and saying that you're not gonna eat or skip breakfast and then eat lunch and evening meal, I don't think that that's a good way to do it, because you need energy. Your brain needs energy, and when you just wake up and go working, your body has to reach to the store, your stored food, which is fine. But I feel like for me, when I just wake up and go to work, I start to get headache if I didn't eat. It's just, I feel like just get a healthy breakfast, healthy lunch, focus on healthy, and avoid snacking. I tell people all the time, do away with snacking, even reaching out for that soda, anything that has nutrients in them, sugars and stuff. Just drink water, and your body will be ready for the next meal. And a light evening meal is fine with me. Or that sounds pretty healthy to do.
So apparently people want to know you more. I don't know how much you want to introduce yourself to a lot of people who are viewing. Can you say more about yourself, clearly?
Sure. So my name is Daphne Kaniaru, former Daphne Ondari. So my husband is James Kaniaru, so that's where that name is coming from. And I live in Lemo, California. I work as a primary care physician, a family doctor, and I have 2 kids, 7 years old and 5 years old. And what else? So I've actually been practicing medicine since training for almost 3 years now. So I'm kind of fresh. But I love prevention. I love, talking about how do we prevent, especially the chronic diseases which are affecting not just us Americans in America, but all over the world now. It's a problem, and there's a future in lifestyle medicine, meaning how do we reverse these diseases? How do we reverse diabetes? How do we reverse heart disease? How do we reverse hypertension, arthritis, and these kind of, so that's my passion. And I like to talk about the simple things I just talked about, to follow those guidelines, and that will help you get back to your health, be able to lose weight, be in a healthy weight, and prevent those diseases.
Okay, that sounds good. Any addition? I don't think we have any other question there. I think that's a compliment. People, good to see you. I can't even believe you've been practicing for 3 years. Sounds to me like you've been practicing for the last 15, 20 years. You're very, very knowledgeable, very relaxed, very composed, and really, I can't thank you enough so much for coming on the show. I think with that, we'll mark the end of this so that we give you time, and I hope do you promise to come back on the show? I'm going to make an open invitation on air.
Yes, sure, 100 times, because I like, as I said, this is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing, talking about, how we can prevent these diseases. And these are good for general health as well. It's not just preventing chronic diseases. So yes, I will come back. You let me know what you want me to talk about, and I will be back for sure.
Thank you. I can't thank you, and I'm sure many people will thank you. And again, that's an opening I extend the same invitation to men. I think our communities have got a lot of people in the healthcare industry, the nurses and the doctors. I want to encourage them. If you want to come and contribute in your small but valuable ways to our community, please feel free to reach us. We'll be very happy to have you on the show. But again, to you, Dr. Kaniaru, thank you so much for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure again talking to you. I want to also thank your husband, Mr. Kaniaru. Thanks. It's not easy to get that permission to be on air on a Sunday and the weekend when you guys should be spending family time. So please say Asante Sana on behalf of KDRTV. We thank him, and to your two little ones, tell them we are so proud of them. I know they're very proud. They have a wonderful mom. Tell them the community is also very proud to have you as one of us. And I think your opinion going forward is going to help us shape a very positive diaspora narrative. So thank you very much. So, and I think that will mark the end of us. I think it's been a good show. We've been running. We started in Indianapolis, Indiana. We went to Dallas, Houston. We went to North Carolina. We were here in Minneapolis, and then all the way to California. I think that will mark the end for the show today. And then for next week, we have big interviews coming up next week. I don't want to disclose that on there, but again, check us on our Facebook page. We'll make sure that we put that on the show. I think maybe tomorrow, so that you know who is coming up next. But I can tell you for sure, big names are coming up again next week. Also, follow us on Twitter. That's very important to do so. We need you to follow us and go to YouTube, subscribe. If we're going to have regular programming, we need you to subscribe so that we get to that point where we're able to have regular programs. And I don't have to moderate every single discussion. I think we can have the likes of Dr. Kaniaru and others to come on the show so that they can moderate discussions that are relevant to what they do on a daily basis. I also can't forget to thank all the panelists from the morning. Again, they're all gone, but I want to thank Dorothy Ogega from Indiana. She started off the day. Thank you for doing that. I want to also thank Laban Opande. I'm sure he's still watching from Dallas. Thank you for coming on. Mweni Muli Raburu from Carolina. Thank you for doing that. My friend here in Minneapolis, Ongeri, thank you. And lastly, you, Dr. Kaniaru, thank you for doing this. On behalf of the entire KDRTV crew here, thank you for being on the show. Hey, Junior. I know you're in the world. I want the world to know that the person running this show from behind the scenes is a 17-year-old child. 17-year-old. So if you are living within the Twin Cities here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you think there's a way you can contribute to the show, please feel free to reach us. We'll try to make sure that we incorporate your thinking and so that we move this forward. Again, thank you so much for tuning on today. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you again next week.
Thanks.